This man is the world's only martial saint. With his strength alone, he defeated Behemoth, the colossus of the sky, and prevented Earth's fated destruction. However, the final reward was stolen by someone else, all because he was an illegal immigrant. It turns out this all began with a game called BattleNet, which at first was just a competition between nations. That is, until the Galaxy Cup opened in 2022. Afterward, humanity was forced into a life-or-death battle against other extraterrestrial beings. Humanity suffered constant defeats in the war and had to retreat. In less than a year, only 10 nations remained. As humanity stood on the brink of extinction, there was a man named Song Jihan. Relying on his Triple-S awakening ability and an unknown magic, he not only survived the catastrophe but also climbed to 7th place in the world rankings, despite participating with U.S. citizenship. But he was still discriminated against and was ultimately excluded from the team for the next round. After that, humanity failed and was erased by the system. Fortunately, thanks to the nameless martial saint system, he resisted the erasure and was given a second chance. This time, Song Jihan is determined not to let the tragedy repeat itself. The evening sun casts its rays over the bustling city of New York, Manhattan, USA. The elimination round begins. 3 men are focused intently, all staring in the same direction. The mission: defend the city center. A monster rips through the sky. It sends everyone into a panic. Summoning the apocalyptic monster Behemoth, Behemoth rips through the sky, its sharp claws crashing to the ground. 2 men watch in terror as screams echo endlessly. One man's pupils constrict in fear. He trembles and stammers, "It's here!" The screams ring out like a death knell. "It's Behemoth!" Behemoth lands, smashing solid buildings and relentlessly attacking the people. Defeat Behemoth before it destroys the world. The monster roars, its eyes wide and blood red. A leader, though sweating with fear, tries to remain calm and command his men. "Hold your positions. If we lose..." Watching Behemoth's relentless destruction, a group of people charges forward without hesitation. They know what will happen if they lose. The world will be annihilated. The logo of a world-famous competition appears on screen: BattleNet. It began in 2010. Initially, it was just a competition between nations. But everything changed after the Galaxy Cup opened in 2022. The scene is a vision of hell. The landscape is desolate and ruined, with bodies strewn everywhere. A battle for survival against other beings from across the galaxy. It began. Humanity, Earth's representatives, suffered defeat after defeat. The world map changes drastically. The year is now 2023. Only 10 countries remain on Earth. The world is on the verge of despair. A monster opens its massive maw and unleashes a devastating breath attack, causing nearby structures to crumble. As people scream in fear, a blur suddenly streaks through the air. A man in a white shirt hovers high above, looking down at the vile monster. His eyes are cold and sharp as he glares at it with fury. In an instant, he shoots past. The monster below senses the danger and launches a relentless upward attack, but he passes through the earth-shattering blast of power completely unscathed. His gaze cold, he raises a merciless fist and punches down with all his might, sending the monster flying through 10 walls. The 3 onlookers are blinded by a cloud of dust. The dust whips past them, forcing them to squeeze their eyes shut. A moment later, as it begins to settle, one of them dares to peek at the situation. Seeing the motionless monster, he collapses to the ground in disbelief. Impossible! He couldn't hide his astonishment. He killed Behemoth, all by himself? Earth, USA, mission complete. As the system makes its announcement, the man in the white shirt stands firmly atop the monster's corpse. The onlooker stares up at the man standing on the beast's body and asks, "Is that the power of the martial saint?" Suddenly a voice rings out in praise. "Excellent work." It makes our protagonist glance over. He is affiliated with USA's #1 guild, the world's 7th-ranked player, Song Jihan. The man on the tall building continues, his voice booming, "Our beloved United States of America has won once again." What the hell is he talking about? The man doesn't stop, continuing to take credit. "This historic moment will be remembered by all citizens, and by me, your guildmaster." He stands high above, arms crossed majestically, and announces his name is Baron, Guildmaster of America's #1 guild, the world's #1 player, Baron Williams. Suddenly, a young blonde girl leaps down, calling out, "Jihan!" Someone gently tries to stop her. "Saintess!" "You can't go down yet, ma'am." But Baron interrupts, ordering, "Let her go." The person replies, still worried, "But Behemoth's energy is still all over the place." It doesn't matter. Baron dismisses the concern, asserting she can take care of herself. His eyes narrow dangerously as he looks on, thinking, he really is strong. Watching the three people near the corpse coughing and choking, he muses, just the residual energy from the corpse is enough to knock most players unconscious. I can't imagine how powerful it was when it was alive. Then he looks at Jihan, standing calmly right next to the monster, and is astonished. But that bastard, he's standing right beside it. Suddenly, the blonde girl runs up to him and asks with concern, Jihan, are you okay? The beautiful girl trembles, heartbroken. Oh my God, your left arm. She is Sophia, affiliated with America's #1 guild and ranked 3rd within it. She immediately raises her scepter and commands, Restore! A blue light surrounds her and Jihan, and it quickly begins to heal his severed arm. Sophia explains sadly, because of Behemoth's mana, this is probably going to hurt a lot. Please try to bear it. Jihan doesn't reply, simply gritting his teeth and enduring it as the blue light heals him. He lets out a soft sigh of relief. Suddenly, his dark eyes flicker. Someone on the building above shouts in surprise, pointing, Guildmaster Baron, look! Down where Jihan and Sophia are, a chest has appeared. The man shouts, It's the boss battle reward! From above, Baron's voice commands, Both of you step back! Sophia looks stunned. The words have barely left his mouth as Baron and his men descend. He then announces in a commanding voice, I will be managing this reward. A brown-haired man, sitting off to the side and clutching his stomach, says through gritted teeth, He's acting as if he was the one who defeated it. The person next to him replies, just as annoyed, What can we do? Humanity's fate is hanging by a thread right now. Looking at the group surrounding that golden coffin, that man resignedly admitted they were our last hope. Baron turned and shouted to the crowd, First ranked of the United States! I will now announce the names of the members who will receive a reward with me. The crowd, aside from him and Sophia, responded in unison, Yes, Guildmaster. He glanced over at the two of them, then began distributing the rewards. The rank 4 scientists, and the rank 5. Is that all? Sophia, feeling incredibly frustrated, yelled at him, Guildmaster Baron, wait! She stood up to him, demanding justice for Jihan. Jihan was the one who defeated the monster! She asked indignantly, Why aren't you giving him a reward? He arrogantly pointed at her and retorted, And why do you think that is? Baron pointed at Jihan, whose arm was still not fully healed, and explained, Because he isn't an American. His eyes, sharp as blades, were fixed on him. It seemed this guildmaster only saw him as the dregs of society, exuding contempt as he declared, He may be an immigrant citizen, but to me he's not a real American. He's just... Although his eyes had grown even colder, he didn't stop, adding, Nothing more than a useful dog. Just as Sophia, unwilling to back down, was about to argue further, he turned and walked away, stopping her. It's fine. He left it all behind him, insisting, It doesn't matter. But inside, he thought, He's right. He recalled an image of himself standing alone before the ruins. I'm just a refugee who's lost his country. Thinking of his abilities, a hint of sadness touched him, even though he had an SSS rank skill. The system window displayed Nameless Sacred Art ranks a skill comprised of fragments requiring upgrades. The user can only fully unlock the Nameless Sacred Art by attuning the 3 secret phases to themselves, or by finding the sacred art's true name. He continued to stare at his palm, his thoughts flowing. And I climbed to become the world's 7th ranked, only to have to sell myself to these capitalists. He remembered the image of 2 Americans talking about him with disdain, right behind his back. I'm still not considered an American, and I have to endure all this injustice. He closed his eyes, sinking into a mess of chaotic thoughts. But the thing that hurts me more than anything, seeing himself sitting alone on the roof of a car he was filled with sorrow and pain, is the guilt of being the only one who survived. Feeling how messed up everything was, he squeezed his eyes shut to calm himself. Then he paused, looking at his own severed arm. He raised his other hand to heal it, thinking, First, I'll deal with this arm. The mission results should be out soon. He looked up as the system displayed a notification. Game over. Notification. Results of the bronze rank elimination mission. Mission type, defense. Clear condition. At least half of the players survive. Elsewhere, Sophia and Baron also heard the announcement. United States, success. Over on the other side, China also passed safely. China, success. But some other countries weren't so lucky. Russia, failure. Japan, failure. Failure, failure. He watched as the system continuously displayed failure, failure, failure. The two of them were stunned, filled with disbelief and fear. Only 2 out of 10 countries succeeded? No. In the ruined city, many people looked at the system window and affirmed with heavy hearts, humanity has lost. The system also frantically displayed a notification. Humanity number 4212 has failed the elimination round. The sky was stained the color of blood as the system continued to announce that many other players had also failed. You will fight against Orc number 4773 in the final elimination round. The people in Baron's guild were bewildered. An Orc? Sophia couldn't take it anymore and screamed in Baron's ear, Guildmaster! We need Jihan to fight the Orcs. The only reason we won against them last time was because of Jihan. His face was black as thunder, but he, full of self-confidence, insisted, No, we don't need him. At that moment, the system announced, summoning representatives from each planet, the battle will begin shortly. In the arena, the representatives of China and the USA appeared one after another. The solemn face of Baron and the 2 people behind him appeared. Still refusing to see the writing on the wall, he even narrowed his eyes and greeted them, Long time no see. On the other side, a pig with razor-sharp teeth appeared. The pig had a huge, muscular body and carried an axe. He fearlessly cursed it, You disgusting pig! Orc number 4772. The people with him were incredibly shocked. Then they glanced around, assessing the situation. There are only 4 of us. And 1 player from China? Baron clenched his fists, trying to reassure himself. All right, I don't need Jihan. He bared his teeth, his eyes wide, practically breathing fire as he psyched himself up. I can do this. Absorbing power from all directions, Baron relentlessly provoked them. Come on, you savages! He channeled his power into his fist and roared, I am humanity's representative! Veins bulged on his face as he charged forward, screaming. But in the next instant, the impact occurred. The 4 people standing behind were left utterly stunned, especially Sophia. Her jaw dropped. Outside, the watching citizens were also shocked, covering their mouths in fear. Over here, Jihan was also silently observing the system window, his dark eyes flickering slightly, but out of sight, out of mind. In the arena, a single shoe flew off. Before Baron's mouth could close or his eyes could shut, the system announced, Human player has died, and just like that, he kicked the bucket in the most pathetic way possible. The witnesses outside saw the scene, and were all absolutely terrified. The giant pig took down one person after another. The system continuously announced, Human player has died. The 3rd and 4th members were beaten to death in quick succession. Human player has died. Next, it approached and pointed its axe at Sophia, preparing to finish her off. Terrified, Sophia fell to the ground and screamed, Stop! Please don't come any closer! It raised its axe high, preparing to strike. It even offered a cordial, Thank you, humans, because you are so weak. We get to survive. Outside, people squeezed their eyes shut, unable to watch. The system once again displayed, Game over. Humanity. Number 4212 has lost the bronze elimination round. With no rounds left, Humanity number 4212 is deemed useless. A blue-eyed girl then slowly opened her eyes. The system repeated, Useless Humanity number 4212 will be eliminated from the Galactic League. Beneath her feet, a black hole appeared and began to expand. The system continuously displayed, Beginning elimination. The black hole kept growing, swallowing both humanity and the world. Seong Jihan was also gradually enveloped by the black hole. As he was being swallowed, he thought, Is this how the world ends? The earth was slowly consumed by the black hole. Little children, men and women. Old men and old women, no one could escape. Only tragic screams and cries could be heard. Help me! Mom! Dad! No! 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 As everything faded into the void, the system displayed, Humanity elimination complete. Suddenly, a red screen appeared reporting, Error detected. The system identified the error. Remnants of humanity still exist. Talk about main character plot armor. Blessed by the heavens, Jihan's body drifted in the void. He thought in astonishment, Huh? Am I the only one who survived? His face drifted there in the vacuum. The system continuously displayed, Nameless divine art is resisting elimination. The system unexpectedly chimed in, How interesting. Resisting elimination? He was utterly astonished. The nameless divine art is fighting back? He narrowed his eyes, thinking, The nameless divine art. Could things have been different? And if I had been able to upgrade this skill? The system advised, This being is weak, but possesses great potential. We cannot pass up any opportunity. He vaguely lamented, if only I knew its real name. The system wondered to itself, should we give him another chance? Hearing this, he was shocked. Could Korea still exist? Could I protect the ones I love? He drifted into an unknown region of space as the system continuously flashed messages. Agree, disagree, a pointless endeavor. Agree, agree. Voting complete. Player Seong Ji-han will return to the initial period of the league. What the hell? Hearing this made his head throb as he wondered. The initial period? What's that? The system played a notification tune. Agreement reached. Time flies like an arrow. An unknown amount of time passed before he shot up from the bed, covered in a cold sweat. A voice echoed, "Next up is our interview segment." He sat up from the sofa, a mess of beer and liquor bottles on the table. Who am I and where am I? He rubbed his head and narrowed his eyes. What's going on? Then it hit him. I'm sure it said that I would return to the initial period of the league. Looking around the spacious room, he exclaimed in shock, "Wait a minute. This place is..." His eyes darted around in disbelief. He ripped open the curtains, his eyes widening as he looked outside. He saw that everything was still peaceful. In front of him, he confirmed the time, the year 2020, South Korea. Down below, 2 kids were playing with sticks. I'm the Sword King, Yoon Sejin. Yoon Sejin uses 2 swords. I'm the real Sword King. In your dreams. In the distance, a couple embraced while chatting. Are you playing today too? Of course, the rookie round is almost over. His eyes widened in shock. I really came back. Suddenly, he waved his hand and called, "Status window!" A system panel appeared displaying his information. Level 2. Name, Seong Ji-han. He calculated, Level 2. This is right when the league first started. A slight smile touched his lips as he looked at the system panel, but his expression quickly hardened. This is my chance, he thought. If I use the information from my past life... His hands clenched tightly in confidence. I can change the future. His gaze fell on a family photo hanging on the wall and his resolve hardened. No, I have to change it. This time I'm going to protect everyone. Seong Ji-han closed his eyes, composing himself. This time will be different, he vowed. His eyes snapped open, sharp with determination. Because I've already witnessed the end of this game, and now I'm back in 2020. Back then, South Korea was still strong. People were enthusiastically participating and cheering for the matches. Ji-han recalled, we used to have one of the players and strongest in the world, a man ranked 11th globally, who was even considered the 3rd strongest at one point. He dominated on every front, crushed countless opponents and seemed blessed by the heavens. So he was never once injured. That strong, stylish, and incredibly handsome man was the Sword King, Yoon Sejin. He was once the pride and treasure of our nation. Thanks to his achievements and his title as the strongest warrior, our country, South Korea, always maintained a high ranking in the Pan-Asian League. No, perhaps we could have reached an even higher rank. But then, one beautiful day, he appeared on TV and announced, Therefore I, Yoon Sejin, will change. But my name to Ryu Hayai and immigrate as a citizen of Japan. What the hell? Jahan was still bitter about it. In July of 2020, he joined Japan's new National Self-Defense Force. It was an event that sent shockwaves through all of South Korea. He stood before the media and boldly declared, from now on, please call me Itoryu Hayai. And Jihan, he was sitting right there in front of the TV. He had returned to that very fateful day. He crossed his arms, gritting his teeth. I still get pissed off every time I see that bastard's face. But after Yoon Sejin left South Korea, everything fell into chaos. The news anchor was still reporting on the sensational story. Yes, the Sword King has left with a shocking announcement. Many are worried about the league and Korea's ranking. Korea, a country that has always been at the top of the East Asian rankings. It has since suffered consecutive losses, and their ranking in the league has plummeted. Jihan thought, stunned. It feels like I'm falling into a bottomless pit. Despite the non-stop baseless chatter being reported, some experts still believe the rankings won't change too much. The woman next to him chimed in cheerfully. Isn't that right? Our country still has so many talented rising stars. Let's hope we can at least maintain our rank at number 20. Jihan couldn't listen to it anymore. He coldly reached out and slammed the TV off. We're ruined because we were too busy basking in our own glory. Someone talented enough to take his place never appeared. Well, Maybe it would have been different if we'd had time to prepare. He thought with a frown, but the 8 Hells net was merciless. The system displayed notifications everywhere. The Milky Way nation is beginning. But at first, the 8 Hells net was just a game, nothing more. Still, everyone gathered excitedly in front of their screens, registering to participate in the system. He remembered it clearly. 2 years after the Milky Way nation began, it had become a survival war with a messed-up outcome. If you died in the game, you'd die in real life too. Monsters started appearing in the low-tier nations and began a one-sided slaughter. After Yoon Se-jin left, Korea, as predicted, fell to a low tier, and just like that, everything went to ruin. All the survivors said the same thing. If only the Sword King had stayed in Korea, maybe things would have been different. Jihan thought, standing on a small stool. He stared at the picture of Yoon Se-jin in front of him and silently criticized, "That's just the kind of player the Sword King Se-jin is. And the one unchangeable fact is that bastard is also my brother-in-law." Jihan angrily smashed his fist into the picture frame, shattering it. His face darkened as he bitterly asked himself, "I'm still so curious. How could you have ever loved this rotten bastard?" He slowly opened his eyes. Jihan stared at the photo he'd just destroyed and questioned himself. Would things have been different if you were still alive? In a large villa, 2 crossed holy swords sat atop the building, a symbol of its former glory. You could tell this place was something special. Jihan thought with a worried expression, "It's great that I've returned at this exact moment. But looking at my stats is just depressing. They're so pathetic." Name: Xiong Jihan. Level 2. Affiliation: Bronze League, Gangnam Zone 1. Strength: 5. Agility: 5. P: 5. Mana: 5. He rubbed his forehead, trying to calm himself. Well, I'm not that surprised. I spent all my time drinking and gambling during that whole period. His eyes wavered, flashing with despair and self-blame. Looking back at the past, he could only see how foolish he'd been. Then Jihan noticed a particular line. Talent, Voyager's Eye, F rank. You can see other players' information. I had no idea how amazing this was. A talent. Now he knew how incredibly precious it was. Everyone became a player at age 18, but only a select few received the gift of a talent. And since I got the lowest F rank, betting on the dark horse is the best option. You have successfully placed a bet. I used that ability to predict winners. He slowly stood up, reflecting. But back then, I had no idea what the true value of this skill was. It only reveals itself after awakening, but ignorance isn't bliss. He was still hung up on it. These stats are just truly awful. Stats like these should belong to a level 1 player. So how did I even get to level 2? Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he remembered something. Oh, I remember now. He walked over to a yellow potion bottle lying on the cluttered table. An XP potion. Jihan smiled, remembering, some idiot drank this. Now while drunk and leveled up, I'm speechless. Suddenly, he was shocked to discover something. What is this? He looked at the number displayed on the system window, utterly bewildered. Why do I have so many points? Achievement points. 100,000 and 1.00. Wait, achievement points? This immediately sent Jihan into deep thought. He rubbed his chin. Putting aside the fact that they're pretty useless and not worth any money, I don't think I completed any achievements before entering the league. So why do I have them? He still didn't understand why. Could it be something changed because I regressed? He then decided to open his inventory to check. Inventory. He was so surprised his jaw dropped. Jihan was bewildered by what was displayed. It was one item, an achievement point exchange ticket, X, a benefit for the final survivor who chose to challenge the game again. When you use this item, it cannot be sold. He finished reading the information on the screen, a little skeptical. A benefit item. Is this really for me? Without hesitation, Jihan clicked on it. And what's more, it's an RNKX rank item. An achievement point exchange ticket. Right away, the system announced, "You have used one achievement point exchange ticket. The achievement shop has been added." Looking at what was in front of him, he exclaimed happily, "Awesome!" As the achievement shop appeared, he let out a gasp. "I can't believe something this amazing is for sale!" Achievement shop. Level 1. Upgrade. Achievement shop. 20,000 points. Enhanced status window level. 10,000 points. Looking at these insane options, he fell deep into thought. I wonder if I'll get more options if I upgrade. But I need something I can use right away. There really aren't many choices at the moment, huh? After thinking for a while, finally he made a decision. Let's try upgrading the shop and see what happens. The system immediately announced, Achievement Shop has reached level 2. Inventory expansion has been added. Still not satisfied, he decided to continue. This isn't it. One more time. The announcement rang out once more. Achievement Shop has reached level 3. Add nickname has been added. After a long moment, he thought to himself, this isn't very useful to me right now. After that series of actions, his achievement points had taken a hit. I only have 50,000 points left. Achievement points. 50,000. Jihan hesitated again. If I upgrade the shop to level 4 now, I'll only have 10,000 points left. Achievement Shop level 3. Upgrade Achievement Shop. 40,000 points. The higher the level, the more expensive the upgrades get, huh? I only have 2 choices now. He was completely torn between the 2 options. I could buy the items that are available now, or I could leave it to fate and upgrade it to level 4. What's there to even think about? Finally, Jihan made his decision. Go big or go home. I'm going to keep rolling the gacha until I have nothing left. Achievement Shop has reached level 4. The system announced immediately after. Emergency recovery has been added. Jihan was completely surprised to get this skill. Emergency recovery? He still didn't understand what this skill did. Quickly, the system's explanation displayed, Emergency recovery. You can restore a defective item to its perfect state. Jihan covered his face and let out a helpless sigh. This is just not good. Then a sly grin spread across his face. This is exactly why I can't quit gambling. Damn it, I hit the jackpot again. He went to a certain location and used his fingerprint to unlock it. The system quickly announced, Identification complete. You are a member of the Seong Jihan family. Upon seeing the scene inside, he was a little surprised. Walking toward a familiar chair, Jihan mused, A family member, huh? This was Yoon Sejin's game room. He sat in the chair, his hands moving skillfully as he thought to himself, I can't believe that the system still recognizes me as a family member, even though the owner isn't here anymore. After a series of actions, the system announced, You have opened the BattleNet connector's inventory. Receiving the notification, Jihan accepted with a smile. Well then, I'll gladly accept this. He quickly took out the first item, his first key to success. It was the broken painting brush of Dongfang Shuo. Item rank, A, a useless broken brush. Jihan immediately commanded, Use emergency recovery. The system instantly displayed the progress. Repairing the broken painting brush of Dongfang Shuo. The brush's form changed dramatically as 2 red and blue lights began to glow. Before long, the system announced, Repair complete. Seeing this, Jihan exclaimed with excitement, All right! He joyfully exclaimed, The preparations are complete! The ugly brush from before had now transformed into a high-grade item. Painting brush of Dongfang Shuo. Item rank, SS. This is the brush of the renowned scholar Dongfang Shuo. It holds a connection to the martial god. Jihan continued to admire the restored brush in his hand, lost in the moment when suddenly an announcement rang out, causing Jihan to snap back to reality. The tutorial for the Gangnam Bronze Cup will begin shortly. As soon as the system finished, a countdown began. Time remaining, 0 hours and 10 minutes. Seeing this, Jihan felt a new sense of urgency. He immediately opened his status window. Status window, I'm running out of time. He then placed the brush on it and drew a few scrawling lines. With a dead serious expression, he thought, The reason I was able to climb the ranks and earn the title of Martial Saint was because of the combination of my strength, agility, and HP stats, a rare, unique combination. Thunder suddenly crackled around him as he affirmed, It's because I have the power of a martial artist. This brush was neglected because it was broken. But thanks to the 2 words written with it, it will now become the starting point of my awakening. An incredible surge of power radiated throughout the room. Time ticked by. Now only 2 seconds remained. The stats on Jihan's information panel were changing. Finally, only 1 second was left. The countdown was over. The system immediately announced, Player Seong Jihan has logged into the BattleNet tournament. A massive arena appeared and the system continued, Your mission is to survive. We hope that you will be able to survive against the monsters in this arena, along with 100 other players. Once the number of players is reduced by half, the survival game will end immediately. Just then, Jihan, still holding his brush, hadn't yet processed what was going on. When he was teleported away by the system, He stared blankly at the crowded scene around him. An arena? Right now, he still didn't know if his stats had actually changed or not. Confused, he thought, "Wait a minute. What happened to my martial power?" Jihan hurriedly commanded, "Status window!" At that moment, the system displayed that his strength, agility, and HP had been combined into martial power. Seeing this, Jihan couldn't believe his eyes. He was stunned. "I did it!" His information panel was quickly updated right after that. Name, Xiong Jihan. Level, 2. Affiliated organization, Gangnam Bronze Cup, Area 1. Strength, 5. Agility, 5. HP, Mana, 5. Remaining points, 1. Job, Martial Artist. Talent, Traveler's Eye, F rank. Nickname, None. At that moment, he was extremely proud of himself for having gained martial power. The system notification rang out once more. You have successfully obtained a unique stat. You have received 10,000 achievement points. Seeing these lines, he let out a sigh. The pen in his hand was still emitting a wondrous blue energy. He exclaimed happily, "So, we meet again." Jihan looked at the stats on the panel, thinking to himself, "Of course. Even though this is just the first step to reaching the nameless divine art, with a martial power of 5, I'll be able to easily pass the cup. The bronze cup with just this." Right after, another notification appeared. You have logged in without connecting to a battle link unit. If you do not use a connection unit, you will experience 100% of the pain in-game. This notification reminded him, and memories of the past came flooding back. He sighed, feeling it. I remember this. In this day and age, it was a world where you could reduce pain with money. People could minimize the pain they received in the game by using a link unit. The one Yoon Se-jin owned was so optimized that it reduced up to 99% of the pain received. He clenched his fist, making a silent resolve. I'm going to make good use of that. Suddenly, the system chimed in with a notification that surprised him a little. The achievement window has been opened. You have received a limited quest. His eyes widened in shock. Jihan was clearly taken aback by this quest. A limited quest? The system clearly displayed, Limited quest. Achieve first place in the tutorial. Reward, 1,000 achievement points. He thought with suspicion. I don't remember seeing anything like this in the past. However, that didn't make Jihan worry in the slightest. This will be easy, because now I have martial power. The system's announcement rang out. The game will now begin. Please survive until the game is over. He decided enthusiastically, all right, time to get moving. Just as he said that, some punk appeared out of nowhere, chose him as his first prey, and charged from behind with a sword to launch a sneak attack. He wore a smug grin as he swung his sword down. Hey, newbie. Gotcha. However, the young man's joy didn't last long, as his expression completely changed. Jihan, without the slightest effort, had stopped the tip of his sword with just 2 fingers. He thought with a sense of boredom, the most refined pastime in this game. He glanced at his opponent, a smirk playing on his lips and his eyes glinting, and said to him, Thanks for the first blood. Killing players from guilds. A guild is an organization that manages and supports players. As everyone was swept up in the BattleNet craze, nations also began investing in nurturing players, thanks to an investment race among famous corporations. Many guilds, big and small, appeared in Korea and had time to train strong players during the early season of this tournament, the Gangnam Bronze Cup. Gangnam Zone 1 was the debut stage for the guilds. The system's command rang out. The game is about to begin. That same punk was now looking around the scenery in a daze. He was sweating, frozen in place, marveling, the Gangnam Cup really is on another level. He shook his head, trying to stop his thoughts, constantly reassuring himself. No, I can't be nervous. I'll do just fine. After all, I'm the luckiest one to have survived. This young man's name was Do Yu-hyuk. He clenched his fist, constantly psyching himself up. I can do this. He was a member of the Pungi Guild. The Pungi Guild was managed by the Pungi Corporation, a famous guild that had many rising stars. Do Yu-hyuk was an exceedingly normal young man. However, he was lucky enough to be blessed by the heavens with an A-rank gift, agility. Agility increased by 25. This ability was not limited by the season's stats. It was because of this that he was able to join Pungi after receiving the A-rank gift, agility. As a result, Do Yu-hyuk became much more confident, and his face brightened up as he thought, only a select few receive A-rank gifts, and since that luck fell upon yours truly, I'll definitely make it into the top 50. He was now looking around, searching for his opponent. All right, Who's gonna be my first opponent? First, there was a bald guy and another one in full body armor. Next was an unfriendly-looking, scar-faced man who was choking someone. Every single one of them exuded an extraordinary power. And finally, a wild boar monster. He saw that all his potential opponents were formidable beasts like this. All he could do was pant and laugh nervously. Hoo hoo! Ha ha! Great! I know what to do! Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is the best. So he decided he would put these opponents aside for now. Yu Hyuk looked at the group and thought to himself, after all, staying alive is the most important goal in a survival game. I don't want to get eliminated by picking a fight with the wrong person. He nervously glanced around once more. They're from major guilds, so their equipment is top-notch. This doesn't look like a third-tier tournament at all. However, just then Yu Hyuk spotted something. What's that guy doing here? It turned out he was looking at Jihan, who looked incredibly ordinary while operating his information panel. He wondered doubtfully, was he summoned here by mistake? He's participating in the Gangnam Cup, just like that? Yu Hyuk looked at his opponent's outfit, track pants and a tank top, and thought with certainty, he must be some rookie who got summoned by chance. Seeing Jihan as the easiest target, Yu Hyuk raised his sword, meaning, out of all the people to pick on, he just had to target the main character. Well, he was damn well screwed now. Without another thought, he lunged to attack Jihan. He's an easy kill, Yu Hyuk thought, smugly pleased with himself. I can't believe it. I'm getting my first point this easily. I must be the lucky one. I don't know who you are, but thanks. A system notification appeared. The game will begin in a few minutes. Survive until the game is over. Meanwhile, Yu Hyuk charged toward Jihan like a speeding bullet. He swung down, shouting gleefully, Die, you factory-made scrub! But in a flash, the look on his face changed completely. Jihan had effortlessly blocked Yu Hyuk's attack with just 2 fingers. His mind was reeling in absolute shock. Huh? What the hell? He blocked my sword with 2 fingers? Yu Hyuk's voice began to tremble. How did he keep up with my A-rank agility? Jihan didn't want to waste words on him, so he let go with a look of disgust. Just like that, Yu Hyuk lost his balance and fell to the floor. Jihan turned his head and spoke with utter contempt. Is that all the confidence you've got? Did you really come to the Gangnam Bronze Cup with a gift like that? Humiliated, Yu Hyuk was on the verge of tears. He screamed, What? You call A-rank agility a gift like that? Do you really think an A-rank gift is some piece of trash? Jihan turned back and said coldly, I'm not denying it. Provoked by his attitude, Yu Hyuk cursed him out. This damn bastard. He gritted his teeth, cursing internally. How dare that beggar-looking guy look down on me? Does he dare act so arrogant just because he blocked one of my attacks? Yu Hyuk, refusing to accept it, decided to stand and fight once more. The power he summoned was immense, immediately pressuring his opponent. I'll use my top speed to take you down! Jihan didn't say much, just stood there quietly observing and making a judgment. Is he planning on putting all his strength into one attack? To be honest, his speed is nothing to scoff at. However, he affirmed with absolute confidence, I'm definitely faster than him. And the truth proved it. He deftly dodged his opponent's attack. Yu Hyuk, not one to give up until the bitter end, refused to back down and charged in again. But no matter how many times he attacked, Jihan swiftly dodged every single one. At that moment, he thought to himself, I knew it. This feeling of everything being reset to the past, it's so weird. Suddenly, being back at level 2 is harder than I thought. It's not that he's fast, it's that I'm slow. This fight isn't going to be easy. He chuckled softly to himself. If this were the old me, a veteran of countless battlefields, I would have dodged his attacks without any trouble. His attack trajectory is too simple and predictable. With my vast experience, that's why I can evade his attacks so easily. I can see his every single move right now. Yu Hyuk used all his strength for one final attack on Jihan. Ah! The sword flew towards Jihan, catching him slightly off guard. However, the one who was even more surprised was Yu Hyuk, because Jihan had turned and knocked the sword from his hand, barehanded. Yu Hyuk, suddenly disarmed, hadn't even had a moment to process what happened. But in the next second, his face instantly drained of color. What the? Jihan had already picked up his sword and was attacking with it. With a chilling gaze, Jihan thrust the sword towards him. Before he could react, the sword was at his neck, making him cry out in panic. Even as Jihan slashed his throat, Yu Hyuk still couldn't believe it. No, impossible. And just like that, he collapsed to the ground from Jihan's strike. Before being eliminated from the game, he declared, Next time we fight, I'll be the one who wins. Jihan let out a long sigh. He scoffed with contempt. I'll be waiting. Look at him, vowing a rematch after he dies. What a wonderful world. After eliminating Juhyuk, the system announced, "You have achieved the first kill. You have received 100 achievement points." He watched the sword in his hand slowly fade away, sighing to himself. When a player is defeated, their weapon vanishes too. What a waste. Jihan began to plan his next move. The warm-up's over. Guess it's time to take the next step. If I want to get ahead, then I need to kill at least 5 more to stay in the rankings. Suddenly, he noticed something. It was that terrifying horde of monsters staring at Jihan with fierce intensity. He thought to himself, it's not hard to guess why no one's over there fighting those monsters. In 8 tournaments, besides players, there are also monsters. However, killing a monster is only worth 0.1 of a player kill. That means you have to kill 10 of them just to get 1 kill count. That's probably why most people avoid them and target other players instead, especially when the monsters are in a pack like those orcs. He stated bluntly, only a fool would go pick a fight with them. However, just then his status window popped up. A notification appeared right after. New quest. Jihan was a bit surprised. A new quest? The new quest quickly appeared. Annihilate the orc army. The army of 30 orcs are the strongest monsters in the arena. Show them your overwhelming power and defeat them. Reward, 500 achievement points. He was immediately tempted by the reward and began to hesitate. Even though hunting monsters wasn't the most efficient strategy, the reward was 500 points. That was 5 times the reward for the first kill. After a moment of hesitation, he finally made his decision. In this case, there was no reason not to do it. He scratched his head, smiled nonchalantly, and said, monsters are just monsters after all. They can't compare to the real orc I faced before. After that, Jihan immediately focused, his eyes as cold and sharp as knives. Without a moment's hesitation, he rushed towards the horde of monsters like a gust of wind. Guess I'll just jump in and take them all down. The monsters saw something speeding towards them but couldn't make out what it was. What is that? They immediately raised their guard as someone rushed in. Someone's running towards us, naked! A human? Is he crazy? We'll destroy you. They all grabbed their weapons and charged at Jihan to counterattack. However, he didn't even flinch. In fact, he seemed to be enjoying himself as countless axes from the monsters were thrown at him. He skillfully dodged all of the axes. Now this is more like it. Then, Jihan quickly caught 2 of their axes. Now he raised the axes, preparing to counterattack. Axe throw! The 2 axes, thrown with immense power, flew right back at the monster horde. They were all completely stunned by this. In that moment, Jihan had appeared behind them out of nowhere. He then immediately swung his axes to attack. With each powerful chop, countless orc heads flew high into the air, creating a chaotic scene. The remaining monsters looked on in terror and confusion. The monster leader, on the verge of death, still managed to growl angrily. They wanted to avenge their comrades, so they charged forward to attack him again. The system now displayed his progress. Eliminate the orc army. Orcs eliminated, 5 out of 30. The horde of monsters surrounded Jihan, rushing in and shouting relentlessly, "Kill him!" But Jihan was no pushover. He immediately attacked them back. Every punch he threw was powerful and precise, each one a critical hit. He relentlessly attacked one after another. The monsters kept screaming, "Human! Kill him! Kill him!" When an arrow flew at him, he immediately blocked it with his hand. With just one hand, he snapped it in 2. The monsters realized how formidable he was, and so they cautiously took a few steps back. The one holding the bow was a bit bewildered by the sight. Jihan spoke coldly. How pathetic. Who taught you to shout while you're trying to sneak attack? That one still refused to give up and raised its weapon to strike Jihan again. He didn't back down either, still tightly gripping the broken piece of wood in his hand to counter. With just a few fluid moves, Jihan was able to block it. He spoke arrogantly, "Could you guys please use some better weapons? These weapons are all too flimsy and don't match your size at all." The monsters burst out laughing when they saw his weapon had broken. "The human's weapon is broken. Your weapon is broken too!" They took this opportunity to charge forward. "Now, kill him!" The whole mob charged at him once again. Jihan said in exasperation, "Seriously, you guys never learn." He cursed as he walked. "You idiots!" His power was so immense it cracked the very ground. Very quickly, the monsters were sent flying by the earth-shattering force. Then he crouched down and leaped high into the air. Jihan gripped his sword tightly and swung it, his other hand grabbing one of their weapons. A wave of energy appeared, knocking them far away. He took that chance to attack fiercely, giving them no room to counter. In the blink of an eye, Jihan had eliminated several more monsters, easily sending them to their graves. Jihan spun the wooden club in his hand, causing the remaining ones to cry out in confusion, "I can't see anything!" And now, Jihan appeared before them like a demon of death, while they were still trying to get their bearings. He was already upon them, attacking. The monsters were taken down one by his critical blows, dropping dead in an instant. The remaining few saw their comrades all around them fall, and were utterly stunned. They were so terrified they stammered, He's not human!" As the last one spoke those words, Jihan struck it down. "He's a monster!" Jihan quickly received a notification. "You have completed the quest. Eliminate the orc army. You have received 500 achievement points. You have leveled up." Jihan was a bit surprised to hear that. "I leveled up in the middle of the game. Shouldn't experience points be tallied at the end of the game?" Jihan hesitated because of this. "Is it because I'm at a low level? Well, this is pretty efficient. I can level up my stats right away." He began to examine his status window. "Let's see. If I can only increase one stat, of course I'll choose..." 2 words immediately popped into his head. Martial power. Name, Seong Jihan. Level, 2. Guild, Area Y. Bronze Cup, Gangnam. Martial power, 5. Mana, 5. Remaining stat points, 1. Class, Martial Artist. Talent, Traveler's Eye, Rank F. Can identify other players' skills. Nickname, None. Martial power. A unique stat that combines strength, agility, and stamina. Even if you have other stats at the same level, like martial power level 6, agility level 6, and strength level 6. This insane stat can at least double my abilities compared to the others, Jihan thought to himself. And there's another reason why martial power is so special to me. That's because when I reach 30 points in martial power, Nameless Divine Art, and SSS rank skill, I'll have a chance to obtain it. Jihan quickly pressed the martial power section on the system. Martial power, 5. I have to get the Nameless Divine Art as soon as possible. But this stat also has a critical flaw. Martial power isn't a stat that can be increased that easily. Suddenly he was a little surprised. It went up? So it seems my martial power has increased. Martial power, level 6. He frowned, deep in thought. Normally, I'd have to accumulate experience through combat and training to raise my martial power. Adding stat points can only increase my base physical stats at best. Now, Jihan smirked and said, "This is great. I don't know what's happening, but if my martial power score keeps increasing like this..." At that moment, someone suddenly shot an arrow at him. Jihan's sharp eyes noticed it immediately. He flexibly tilted his head to dodge it. He was a little stunned. "An arrow?" The girl acted as if nothing had happened, smiled, and said, "So you dodged it." The armored guy, meanwhile, was getting angry, cursing that lucky bastard. Just then, the girl turned back to her partner and said, "Let's make this quick. It's almost over." That warrior agreed immediately. "Right. As we promised earlier, whoever kills him first gets the prize, right?" Seeing this, Jihan thought to himself, so they must be working together. This happened quite often. He remembered clearly that the purpose of the survival map was for players to fight each other, but there were no rules forbidding guilds from cooperating. And that logo belonged to one of the top 10 guilds in Korea, the Guihui Guild. A warrior and an archer, a combination of melee and long-range attacks. But Jihan was no pushover. He raised his sword ready to fight. If they're from the same guild, then it's obvious. At the same time, the system announced, 60 survivors remaining. The tutorial is about to end. Hearing this, Jihan was a little surprised, thinking, have that many people died already? If I just focus on dodging, I can easily survive. But they've come here with the clear intention of killing me. I must look like an easy target, huh? The warrior generously said to the female archer, "If you agree to have dinner with me, I'll let you have his life." "No!" However, she turned away with a scornful look and said, "Thanks, but I'll pass." Over on his side, Jihan opened the system to the scoreboard. It now showed that he had gotten 4 kills. Just enough to put me in the lead, he told himself. Jihan smiled inwardly with satisfaction. This is perfect. I can solidify my rank right now. The female archer didn't waste any more words. She raised her bow and sneered, "There's too much of an age gap between us. You should be ashamed of yourself." But her triumphant expression didn't last long before something made her face change. Yep, It was Jihan's attack. I should test out the power of my 6 martial power points right now. Very quickly, the system announced 58 survivors remaining. The tutorial will end soon. And just like that, the girl was dead. The warrior behind her was completely stunned. He trembled with rage, gritting his teeth as he said, "What the? What? How dare you kill her?" Not wanting to waste time, Jihan rushed forward and quickly attacked him. It didn't take long for Jihan to slash him from behind without any resistance. However, Jihan's expression wasn't quite right. He paused, realizing that the guy hadn't taken any damage from his attack. As expected of the Guihui Guild's exclusive B-rank armor, it really is durable. Seeing this, the warrior sneered at Jihan. "You'll never get through this with that crappy weapon." Jihan didn't give up and continuously attacked him. "You damn lunatic." Finally, a crack appeared in the armor. Because everything is just trash before the protagonist's aura. The armor shattered. Were you aiming for the same spot the whole time?" Jihan said scornfully. "Chasing girls with your B-rank armor? Did you come here to fool around? You really shouldn't have." Looking cool, he finished his move. "I think you need to suffer a little more." And now, the warrior's screams echoed through the sky, so loud that even someone sitting behind a computer screen could hear them. A beautiful woman who exuded a powerful aura remarked, "That's quite surprising." "What a relief, isn't it?" This was Li Haiyan, head of HR Department 3 of the Divergence Guild. The person standing beside her asked, confused, "What do you mean?" Li Haiyan slowly replied, "Of course it's a relief, because this person wasn't summoned at the same time as you." This cold, short-haired girl belonged to the Divergence Guild, Li Haiyan's bodyguard, Lim Gayun. As the detailed scoreboard appeared, Haiyan continued in a condescending tone. "Instead of getting second place, you might have been eliminated altogether. If you run into this person, you should avoid a direct fight with him. I wonder if that's even a good idea." Hearing this criticism, Gon's expression turned ugly. But she didn't stop there. Haiyan sighed provocatively. "Honestly, oh my, how could my Gayun possibly lose? Just face him and defeat him." Gayun replied immediately, "All right, ma'am, I'll avoid fighting him." But she slowly stood up and objected. "No, this is an order. We need to collect data, so go fight him." Helpless, Gayun closed her eyes tightly and agreed. "If you say so, I will obey." Her gaze became analytical as she stared at the screen, which was still on, and softly called out, "Seo." Jihan. Seeing him looking so powerful, with the vigorous body of someone in their 20s, made Gayun recall something. I swear I've seen him somewhere before. A powerful sword appeared. Lim Gayun of the Divergence Guild had crushed many opponents. She was known as a gifted S-rank ability user. As a promising and potential-filled member of the Divergence Guild for many years, her performance at the cup match that day was even beyond everyone's expectations. A person who possessed all the elements to be in first place? That is, if it weren't for the appearance of Seo Jihan. Looking at the latest rankings shocked everyone. The Guihui Guild's scout team exclaimed, their jaws dropped. "He's only level 2 and he's ranked first? And what's more, he doesn't have any tools or any ties to other organizations." Meanwhile, after losing the fight, the warrior still hadn't given up trying to woo the girl. "So, when are we going out to eat?" The female archer held her head in frustration and yelled, "Can you just shut your mouth for a second?" The chatter behind Jihan was non-stop. Despite starting later than everyone else, wearing only a tank top and sweatpants, practically bare-handed, he inexplicably possesses 6 skills. Can a level 2 newbie really be this skilled? He calmly turned back, leaving everyone wondering, just who the hell was that guy? Back in his luxurious apartment, Jihan relaxed on the sofa, slowly looking at the system screen. It was frantically notifying him, "You have ranked first in the tutorial." The reward for first place was a 50% XP boost, jumping him 3 levels from level 3 to level 6. Seeing this, he leaned back smugly. "It must be because I'm still a newbie. That's why my level is shooting up so fast." Suddenly, the system continued. GP is not included in the tutorial rewards. He didn't seem to care one bit, happily proceeding. "First, I'll just dump all the remaining stat points into martial power." The results were immediate. Martial power increased from level 6 to 9. Jihan's eyes widened as he calculated. "Next up is the title I got for winning the cup." He was extremely curious. Ruler of the Tutorial Board. Bronze title, Ruler of the Tutorial Board. All stats +1. Experience +20%. Both of the above are only effective within the Bronze Cup. He was very pleased with this and thought, Even though the new title is just bronze rank, it's still pretty solid. But it didn't stop there. Jihan continued, checking to see if his stats had increased as notified. He cheered with delight. Whoa, awesome! A detailed information panel appeared. Name, Seong Jihan. Level 6. Organization, Bronze Cup. Region, Gangnam. Martial. Power 10. Mana, Bar 6. Class, Martial Artist. Class Acquisition, available. Gift, Traveler's Eye, rank F. Ability to analyze other players in detail. Title, Ruler of the Tutorial Board, Bronze. Achievement points, 116. He thought confidently, I've got an extra 10 points in martial power now. This whole bronze cup is going to be a piece of cake, just you watch. Jihan grinned, thinking, anyway, rank up battles don't start until level 25 and up, so for now I just need to focus on training and getting stronger. Suddenly his eyes shot open as if he remembered something. He exclaimed hastily, that's right! He focused on the line, Class Acquisition available. Wait, I still have this class acquisition thing to do. The system quickly provided instructions. You can obtain your basic class from level 5. He began to analyze. Class acquisition is a crucial moment. When a new player chooses their own class, he recalled that there were 4 different options: Warrior, Archer, Mage, and Support. In his previous life, his choice was Warrior. Jihan fell into deep thought. After all, he'd already been through this once before, so choosing the exact same class this time should be much easier. Then he was surprised to see he still had the collection shop he'd gotten after regressing. Collection shop, level 4. Upgrade, achievement points, 50,000 P. Expand status window, 10,000 P. Add, class, 10,000 P. Expand, inventory, 10,000 P. Add title, 10,000 pesos. Emergency recovery item, 10,000 pesos. Seeing the string of numbers made his jaw drop. With this to help me, even if I choose a different class this time, as long as I have 10,000 points, I can add the warrior class whenever I want. He smirked in amusement. What an unbelievable perk. In that case, why on earth would I have to pick warrior first? Jihan thought to himself how lucky he was. Just then, the system prompted him. Please select your class. Warrior, sir. Archer. Mage. Support. He chuckled, reaching out to make his selection. In that case, this time I'll choose this one. Scene changed to an unknown location. Zombies growled incessantly. The atmosphere turned grim, thick with the smell of death. The system displayed a notification. Welcome to the Bronze Cup Gangnam region. Your mission is defense. At that moment, in a vast fortress, the ground below was swarming with walking dead. Huge numbers of them began to flood in. The system issued the mission. Protect the crystal core and survive the waves of zombies attacking the base of the tower. Just then, on the highest floor of the fortress, a figure appeared. The unidentified person tightened their grip on the sword at their hip. The system continued its announcement. The battle will end if you fail to defend at least 5 towers. This person was none other than the girl from the Phoenix Guild, Lim Ga-yeon, 23 years old, a warrior. Her gaze sharpened as she scanned her surroundings. Even though it's just a game world, it's still disgusting. Below, the horde of zombies with bloodshot eyes and ugly gaping mouths were screaming. Suddenly, 2 pillars of light appeared behind Ga-yeon. 2 more people had appeared. Judging by their equipment, one could guess they were a mage and an archer. As soon as they arrived, they started complaining. Of all the maps, why did it have to be this one? The mage covered his mouth, looking at Ga-yeon with disdain. Oh, great! A defense mission? She frowned, observing her new teammates. So these are the 2 I'm doing this mission with. The blonde guy is an archer with rank B gear, allied with LK. The other flashy one holding a staff is a mage, though he's not allied with anyone. But he has some seriously amazing gear. Not bad. She looked up at the sky, thinking worriedly. However, the most crucial factor on this map is the support. Just as the thought crossed her mind, a brilliant flash of light appeared, startling everyone into raising their weapons defensively. Ga-yeon frowned, shielding her eyes with her hand as she thought. Ultimately, a defense mission is a test of endurance. That's why the abilities of the support class member are the key to survival. Her eyes widened in astonishment. What is this? And so our protagonist, Jihan, has finally arrived. He lets out a soft sigh of relief after a safe landing. Ga-idong suddenly exclaims, Sung Jihan? Leaving him confused about what's going on. Huh? Looking at her, he realizes, you're the defender, aren't you? This is Seong Ji-han, 27 years old, single, and taking on the support role this time. Rewind to 20 minutes ago. The system displayed a notification. You have selected the support class. Warning. This class is not compatible with the player. Are you sure you wish to continue with this class? With a stubbornly defiant look on his face, Ji-han proceeds. He frowns, explaining, As for my first reason for choosing support, there's only one. It's because no matter how many times I cycle through the system, it always warns me that the class isn't a good fit. A moment later, a system notification appeared. You have successfully acquired the class. Name, Seong Ji-han. Level, 6. Organization, Bronze Cup. Region, Gangnam 1. Strength, 10. Mana, 6. Class, Support. Acquired gift, Eye of Dew. Rank F Pilgrim, with the ability to analyze other players in detail. Title, Ruler of the Bronze Tutorial Board. Achievement points, 116,000. And he understood his choice perfectly. Being a supporter means unlocking the Holy Power stat, a crucial factor you absolutely must have if you want to unlock a new special stat. The only problem is, that stat is incredibly difficult to raise. Furthermore, unlike other stats, you can't just raise it through training. So aside from dedicating all your remaining points to it, there's practically no other way. But thinking about it was incredibly frustrating. Seong Ji-han, age 27, possesses the nameless holy art, and is currently pouring all his points into strength. I can't just waste my unspent points like that. He regained his composure and smiled confidently. Because I know another way. A high-risk, high-reward method that almost no one knows about. He tightened his grip on his weapon. Back in the present, Ga Idong stuttered in shock. You're a support? The others were also bewildered, judging him by his shabby equipment. What is this? You're a support? The mage covered his face, his tone dripping with contempt. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm gonna lose my mind. This is exactly why I didn't want to do the tutorial season. Ha ha! He yelled, criticizing him. Look at that pathetic gear and those clothes. What the hell, are you a beggar? Do you have any idea how much money I spent on my expensive new gear? Just to carry some useless bum like you, huh? Ji-han remained silent, not responding. A young archer stepped forward to mediate. Hey, you're getting a little too worked up. Just calm down a bit. But the mage remained arrogant and aggressive. Get your hands off me. You still dare talk to me like that after seeing the pathetic state that guy is in? He couldn't stop swearing. Fucking hell! Let me go back. I'm not participating anymore. Ga Idong stood to the side, silent and thoughtful. Then she spoke coldly. You all can handle this yourselves. It's too noisy. But inside, she thought in frustration. Who would have thought I'd get matched with a troll like him? This mission is going to be a pain in the ass. When she opened her eyes again, she saw a horrifying scene. What the? The mage was now caught in his grasp. He blustered, demanding, Let me go! I said let me go, you bastard! Ji-han replied coldly. As you wish. Hearing that, all the blood drained from the mage's face. He gasped, What? And suddenly realized something. He glanced down below. Holy shit! He was actually in free fall from the fortress, plummeting towards a horde of zombies. He screamed in terror, Huh? But it was too late. The mage screamed in despair as the zombies below waited with open jaws. Ji-han coolly straightened his collar and said, Huh? What do you mean, huh? If you don't like it, then don't play. Ga Idong and the archer watched the scene unfold. They could only stand there with grim expressions as Ji-han confidently declared, I can carry this team just fine without him. No! The mage's frantic scream echoed from below. He was now kneeling before Ji-han, begging him not to do it again. Please, spare me! I'll do my absolute best! All this killing is more than enough! The person groveling and begging for Ji-han's forgiveness was none other than Kim Ju-hyuk. There had to be a reason. For this mage to have such a sudden change of heart, right? In the Bronze Cup defense game, each player gets a total of 3 lives. Kim Ju-hyuk had respawned right after Ji-han threw him down the first time. And of course, after that, Ji-han threw Kim Ju-hyuk down a second time. That meant he was now on his very last life. If he happened to die one more time, he would be ranked dead last. That was the reason the mage was on his knees, begging Ji-han to spare him. With his hands in his pockets, Ji-han looked down at him coldly and said, Well, Kim Ju-hyuk, pale with fear, quickly answered, From now on, I will work diligently. He gritted his teeth, head bowed to the ground, thinking to himself, I cannot end up in last place no matter what. If I place last, I'll get hit with a level penalty, and the skills I paid for with my own money will vanish. That was why Kim Joo-hyuk was willing to endure the humiliation and kneel for mercy. This time, if a player's level becomes incompatible with a skill's level requirement, that skill is automatically erased. Jihan let out a cold laugh and replied, "I'll give you this. You change your tune faster than an ex-girlfriend." The last time he respawned, he had actually tried to attack Jihan. Yet now, with only one life left, he'd tossed aside all his pride to beg for mercy. Just moments ago, Kim Joo-hyuk had been screaming frantically, "Don't you come near me, you bastard! Fire, 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 fire!" Jihan then spoke to the mage. "It seems you're quite skilled with, what was it, fire magic, right, huh?" After hearing that, Kim Joo-hyuk laughed goofily and replied, "Ah, yeah, that's right. Blazing fire. Against a massive army like these zombies. A fire mage seems pretty useful, huh?" Hearing that guy Kim Joo-hyuk stood up and solemnly declared, "That's right, I am that fire mage. What's more, I'm already at level 15. I'm sure you wouldn't want to lose a talented asset like me." Behind him, Gayeon suddenly sighed, thinking to herself, "I thought all people were basically the same, but it's really that Kim Joo-hyuk. He used to belong to one of the top 10 guilds and was respected by everyone. But he failed the silver rank promotion tournament 4 times. After that, this guy went around picking fights. You could call him the very symbol of a true failure." Just to reaffirm his own ridiculous standing, Kim Joo-hyuk pointed directly at Jihan and said, "But I have one condition. You have to apologize for attacking me earlier. Only then will I join your team." The archer behind them also chimed in that they should all make peace to unite and get through this defense map together. "Wow, great idea. Why don't we cooperate?" Kim Joo-hyuk said this out loud. But inwardly, he was seeing red, silently cursing, "You bastard, I'll definitely—" before he could even finish his thought. In the next second, Jihan approached that guy Kim Joo-hyuk once again without a word. Then he lifted him by the collar. Jihan dragged him to the edge of the tower, chuckled softly and said, "Great idea. Are you telling me to apologize to you?" Once again, Jihan gave Kim Joo-hyuk a one-way ticket to free fall from the top of the tower. After dealing with him, Jihan maintained his cool, badass posture, and he said aloud, "People might get the wrong idea and think I'm the one who started this fight." Kim Joo-hyuk's scream echoed until his body hit the ground. A notification appeared. "Mage class Kim Joo-hyuk has perished." Lim Gayeon was so scared she broke into a cold sweat, but Jihan's expression didn't change one bit. He just calmly said to the others, "Let's go. Next time, that bastard needs to be a little more sensible if he wants to survive." Right after that, it seemed the zombies' full-scale assault had begun. A huge number of monsters started swarming up from below while Jihan's group of 3 stood still. Meanwhile, at the defense tower next to them, they were continuously shooting fire at the horde of monsters. Those guys shouted with joy, "That's a fire mage for you! That fire is really effective! We're getting out of last place! Should we go roast some potatoes?" Since they still have a fire mage, those guys blew away the zombies before they could even get close. The archer started to blame Jihan. "Maybe that's why we needed a mage here. Now what are we supposed to do? Things would have been fine if we had the help of a fire mage too, but you killed him. We're about to lose because of your stupidity." Jihan paid no attention to the archer. Instead, he opened his status window to check the mission. Besides the limited quest, take first place among the 10 towers. For a reward of 10,000 achievement points, Jihan noticed a new linked quest had been unlocked. Zombie Genesis. Kill 1,000 zombies by yourself. Reward, 3,000 achievement points. After reading the notification, he began to ponder, kill 1,000 of them. By myself? At this point, that's practically impossible, but I don't want to lose out on these 3,000 achievement points. While Jihan was lost in thought, Gayeon, standing at a distance, had been assessing him for a while. He's really the worst choice, always doing whatever he wants, and his class is just a support. Although his character stats, even an amateur gamer wouldn't attack a teammate like that. There's no reason for the Divergence Guild to be scouting him so eagerly. After getting no response from Jihan for a while, the archer started to get angry. He yelled, "Hey, answer me! Are you ignoring me on purpose? If you're going to keep acting like this, then fight by yourself." Faced with this, Jihan looked genuinely astonished. Not because his teammate was abandoning him, but because he really gets to handle these zombies all by himself? The archer froze, blurting out, "What?" Jihan continued to ignore him, lost in his own thoughts. "If that happens, I can complete the mission to kill 1,000 zombies." "I can do it," Gayeon sighed and said, "I'll go up front. You support me from the back." Inwardly, she thought with despair, even though it's crystal clear that we're going to fail, I still have to fulfill my duty as a player. I can't just give up before even trying. Jihan immediately replied, "All right." As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeves and announced, "When I say I'll do something, I do it. I'll clear the way, so you stay here and protect this archer kid, okay?" Just then, a zombie managed to climb up to the top of the castle wall where the group was standing. The terrified archer stammered that it was a blood zombie, not like the normal ones. Its head was liquid, so physical attacks were useless against it. While Ga-eon and the archer were still stunned by the blood zombie, Jihan had already used the weapon in his hand to blow its body to smithereens. With just a single strike from him, the blood zombie exploded into 100 pieces. Ga-eon stared in astonishment as chunks of the blood zombie's flesh flew everywhere. Her eyes couldn't hide her terror as she recognized the skill. Divine white flame, a skill combined with holy power. Could it be that this Jihan in front of her already possessed holy power? Right after that, Jihan stood alone at the forefront, holding a staff, blocking the entire horde of zombies. Any zombie that approached received a whack from Jihan's staff and dropped dead. Blood and gore splattered everywhere. The pikeman said, "I don't know if I can do this. But let's check the quest progress." The number of zombies Jihan had currently killed was 6 out of 1,000. And so, Jihan, one man with one staff, dominated the virtual world. He tore up the map all by himself with just a single staff. With every swing, a large number of zombies fell. The kill count continuously rose. After finishing off the regular zombies, a swarm of red blood zombies started to climb up. He observed the situation and thought to himself, "These blood zombies have immunity to physical damage. Physical attacks are useless against them. So to deal with these guys, I'll release a small amount of holy power. Just a tiny bit is more than enough for me to crush all these blood zombies with one swing." Behind him, Ga-eon and the archer stood. Witnessing this display from Jihan, they were rendered completely speechless. After a moment, the archer regained his composure, his jaw dropping. "Whoa, amazing. This level of support is no joke. Even though he's a jerk, I have to admit he's incredibly skilled. Well done." Incredible. To think he could take care of most of the zombies like that all by himself. Ga-eon, standing nearby, couldn't help but praise Jihan as well. She thought to herself, "He's effortlessly controlling his holy power in battle without wasting any of it. This level of control is just insane. But more importantly, this guy has been aiming for the zombies' heads from the very beginning with absolute precision." After a few minutes, the number of zombies that Jihan had killed reached 210 out of 1,000. A notification immediately popped up. "Condition met. You have completely understood the faith of another world. Holy power has increased from 6 to 7. Jihan broke into a satisfied smile. He thought to himself, "So this is the effect of that method I mentioned before." Jihan was referring to a method to increase one's holy power without using stat points. And of course it was working. Holy relics, they are items of immense value, and they are sacred items. In 2010, when Earth's tutorial first began, they were sold at very high prices, and according to rumors, all of them contained a secret. After 15 years, no one had found any secret, and their value immediately plummeted. This was especially true for holy relics from other worlds. They had little to no value. Many people even didn't know they existed. However, in his past life, Saintess Sophia had revealed something to Jihan. She had increased her own holy power by using holy relics from other worlds. Jihan at the time had been extremely surprised and asked, "What?" Back then, at the American branch of the No. 1 Guild, Saintess Sophia had said, "You can increase your holy power with holy relics from other worlds, but it won't be effective anymore after you complete the tutorial." Jihan, still doubtful, asked again, "Can you really do that?" Sophia smiled and immediately confirmed, "Of course, that's how I became a saintess." This initially stunned Jihan, but according to Sophia, if you hold a holy relic from another world for a long time and pray, you can receive holy power. The required conditions for each item are slightly different. Jihan clutched his head in astonishment and replied, "I can't believe it. To think that no one knew about such an easy way to increase holy power. It can't be helped. Even if they heard rumors about it, these holy relics are supplied in very small quantities. You might not find them even if you looked." Hearing this, Jihan continued to ponder, "That's true. And since it only works during the tutorial, very few people know about this method." Jihan asked in surprise, "Is that how you were able to monopolize the holy relics?" Sophia placed a fingertip on her lips, looking thoughtful, then replied, "Not exactly. This information isn't top secret. But it's not something everyone knows either. There's someone who is constantly buying items from other worlds, and another player who also knows about this. After regressing, in the penthouse of the Sword Palace building, Jihan had found a room with countless holy relics from other worlds inside. What surprised him even more was, all of these holy relics had already been drained. They were completely empty, like scrap. From the Holy Grail to the cross pendant, their information panels all showed they had been deactivated. Jihan recalled Saintess Sophia once saying that someone had been collecting holy relics from other worlds. Could it be the identity of the player who had been collecting holy relics from other worlds? Another saintess I know is my sister. Are you Seong Jihan? My sister, the companion of the Sword King Yoon Se-jin, was the strongest support in Korea, known to the world as a hero, despite the story of her death. Her death happened in the past, and from the holy relic she left behind, I found the steel mace, an E-rank steel mace. Based on the item's description, I smashed the skulls of the zombies. At this moment, the holy power of the steel mace in Jihan's hand had diminished. There probably wasn't much holy power left to absorb, but it was still the perfect item born to smash these undead. Lim Gaon, observing from behind, had to admit one thing. Even though he was a support class, Jihan's physical strength was monstrous, but the way he wielded that mace was even more terrifying. A cry of admiration from the archer suddenly pulled Gaon back to reality. "Whoa, that's amazing!" He pointed to a group nearby and said, "Warrior, there's a really strong group over there. Their levels are super high. I think they're in the top 5. What do you think about joining and helping them?" While he was talking, the archer had no idea that a zombie had crept up right beside him. Seeing this, Gaon immediately leaped forward. She drew her sword and sliced the zombie away, saving the clueless archer's life. Jihan suddenly realized something. He looked at her suspiciously, thinking to himself, what is wrong with that guy? She looks really familiar. The swordsmanship this girl just used is called the Peach Blossom Sword style. In that case, that girl must be Lim Gaon, right? Jihan stood frozen, thinking to himself, she was once famous as the temporary Sword King, but it didn't end well for her. She died at the hands of the current Sword King, also known as Jihan's brother-in-law Yoon Se-jin. It wasn't Rio. Did I somehow save the Peach Blossom Sword again? Just then, Gaon spoke up and asked Jihan, "Hey, support, can we join you? If we fight together, I think we can all achieve a higher rank." Jihan immediately opened the scoreboard to check. He was currently in 5th place with a score of 398. Zombies killed, 397 out of 1,000. He was still quite a ways from completing the mission, and at this point, there was only a little over an hour left. They didn't have much time left. If it's the Peach Blossom Sword, she can still handle things even without me. Jihan realized what he had to do. All right, just let things play out. You handle the ground. With that, he leaped down, to the utter shock and amazement of the other two. On his way down, Jihan activated all the holy power in his body, and channeled it into the mace. A massive beam of white light enveloped the mace. With a loud crash, the ground began to shake as if there were a violent earthquake. Jihan thought to himself, I'll take everything and blow it all to bits. The archer's jaw dropped in amazement, exclaiming, "Whoa! Oh my God, we're in 1st place!" A system notification arrived after Jihan's recent display. If you are the last survivors, you have completed the limited mission. Rank 1st among the 10 towers. Jihan held the mace, which had gone somewhat limp from the battle's aftershock. He heaved a sigh and thought, just as I predicted. Was this a bit much for my current level? Even though I reached the top rank, the number of zombies I killed myself was only 560 out of 1,000. The game is already over. The young man told himself, when I get stronger, I'll come back and finish this 1,000 zombie challenge. Just then, the archer, who had become Jihan's #1 fan, was continuously cheering for him from behind. Support, thank you so much. That was an amazing play. Thanks for the carry. You're really #1, the absolute best. I always believed in you. Jihan paid him no mind and continued to be lost in his own thoughts. Well, I wonder if a similar mission will show up next time. The archer added enthusiastically, let's team up again next time. In contrast to the archer's excitement, Gaon was still standing at the very edge of the tower, unable to snap out of her shock. There's no way this is happening. Can a solo player really pull something like that off all by himself? And he's even a support class, and a lower level than me. And yet, a single full power strike from him could cause this tower to crack and crumble, and all the zombies were completely obliterated. Is this a game bug? After rambling on for a while, the archer decided to log out of the map. After mooching a stage clear, Jihan also planned to go collect his own reward. As he was about to leave, Gaion called out, "Seong Jihan!" Jihan looked at the peach blossom sword in surprise. He asked, puzzled, "You know me?" He thought to himself, "At this point in time, we shouldn't know each other." Meanwhile, Gaion was thinking that she absolutely had to speak with this man privately. The potential, as well as the achievements this person had shown in the last 2 battles, was too immense. The Divergence Guild had to recruit Jihan. So, in order to recruit Jihan, Gaion cast aside her pride and asked him, "For your phone number." Being suddenly asked for his number also took Jihan by surprise. He couldn't help but blurt out, "Huh?" After she said it, Gaion also realized, was I too forward just now? Did I even clearly explain why I wanted his number? What if this Jihan guy gets the wrong idea? Is this really our first time talking and I've already asked for his number? Behaving so improperly, deliberately asking for his number the first time they met. Gaion then stammered out an explanation that she was a member of the Divergence Guild to make things easier for work. However, when Jihan immediately cut her off, saying, "I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I honestly can't remember my own phone number right now," Gaion froze once again for a good 5 seconds. Does a weirdo like this Jihan guy actually exist in this world? Jihan continued, "If we have a chance to meet again in the future, I'll give you my number then, okay? Goodbye." The moment he finished speaking, Jihan immediately logged out, leaving Gaion behind with her questions. She pouted, thinking to herself, how can he not remember his own number? Did I just get rejected? Jihan was now walking down the street, rubbing his head in thought. It's true, I've been using my US phone number for so long. What was my Korean number again? But it's not like I can just ask someone else what my number is. Anyway, I was just scouted. It seems I'm standing out too much. Actually, I could have just asked for her number, but right now, he had no intention of joining any guild. The most important thing at this moment was the reward from the map he just cleared. With that thought, he opened his status window to check. That reward had brought Jihan up to level 8, Strength 10, Mana 6, Holy Power 7, and he had received a reward of 1,500 GP points. The young man began to calculate to see that he had gained 2 levels and received 1,500 GP points. Considering that his Holy Power also increased, it wasn't too bad. But 1,500 points couldn't buy a single holy artifact. The cheapest item in the GP shop was already up to 3,000 GP. Even though it was currently 2010 and prices hadn't skyrocketed yet, Jihan still couldn't afford a single item. He thought to himself that perhaps he should return home, and rummaging through his sister's storage would be more promising. A short while later, he arrived at an extremely modern building. The elevator was stopped on the 67th floor. The front door slowly opened after verifying his information. But just as he returned home, utter shock appeared on Jihan's face. The source of that shock was the unexpected appearance of a pair of shoes inside the house. Everyone has moments that they regret for a lifetime. In his past life, Jihan also had many things he was remorseful about. His trembling hand braced against the nearby wall. His mind raced with the question, could it be? But the thing Jihan regretted most was the fact that he hadn't been able to protect that girl. So he gathered all his courage and stepped inside. A girl in a school uniform tilted her head slightly, looked back, and said, "Whoa, what a surprise. You're already up and out at this hour, uncle? Are you still feeling hungover?" Jihan stood there, frozen in astonishment. He couldn't believe what was happening before his very eyes. There were so many times Jihan had told himself that if he could just meet her again, he would say all the things he never got the chance to say to that person. He recalled that sorrowful time. The girl had kindly said, "It's going to be okay." Jihan, clutching a liquor bottle in his hand, answered dejectedly, "Seiya, you really are strong." "That's right, I'm very strong. So from now on, I'll protect you, uncle." Back in the present, the first thing Jihan wanted to say was, "Thank you. Thank you for protecting me." And the next thing was an apology. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. I know it sounds shameless to say, but I really missed you so much, my precious little niece." The girl saw her uncle standing there, frozen. She smiled happily and said, "Hurry up and go wash your hands." The young girl in front of Jihan was Yoon Seiya. She was 18 years old this year, the daughter of Jihan's older sister and Yoon Sejin, and of course, Jihan's niece. Jihan, after a moment of recalling those dark memories, finally spoke up and asked, "Seiya, is your extracurricular activity on Jeju Island over already?" Seiya scratched her head and pouted, replying, "Haha, in the end, I was the only one who finished it early." This was because she was born while Jihan's sister was working herself to the bone to raise the two of them. So Jihan was the one who had been by her side, taking care of Seiya since she was very little. The kid smiled cheerfully and continued, "Everyone is going crazy because of Dad, so now it's just you and me at home." Ha ha. To Jihan, who had lost both his parents at a very young age, Seiya was more important than anything. She was his family and his only living relative at the moment. But the thought of that bastard, the Sword King, made Jihan's blood boil. He cursed inwardly. That bastard Yoon. But he held it in and asked Seiya, "It's nothing. Has your father contacted you at all?" Seiya then looked down and answered Jihan, "Oh, about that. I tried to contact him earlier, but what? Well, it seems like he's fallen in love." Back to the earlier phone conversation between Seiya and the Sword King. Yoon Se-jin spoke coldly through the phone. "Anyone will do, that's all you need to know." The young girl at that time, utterly shocked, yelled, "What are you talking about, Dad? How can you suddenly say you've fallen in love, Dad? Have you lost your mind?" The Sword King replied, "I don't expect you to understand. You just need to know that much." Seiya asked again, "So what am I supposed to do now? Are you just going to abandon me and leave like that?" "That's right. This was the condition that woman gave for accepting my feelings." "So, you're telling me I have to accept that ridiculous condition?" Without a moment's hesitation, the Sword King didn't let Seiya say another word and hung up abruptly. After hearing the story, Jihan was boiling with rage once again. That damn bastard. That goddamn Sword King. But then, Jihan had to let out a deep sigh and swallow his anger. He couldn't let his niece see him like that. He told himself, "You can't always just put on a kind face." Looking at Yoon Se-jin's picture on the wall, he cursed under his breath at that ungrateful, irresponsible bastard. "You'd abandon your own daughter and your country? All for the affection of another woman? Because of you, innocent Seiya has to suffer like this," even though he tried his best to hold it in. Just thinking about the Sword King made Jihan lose control. His entire body radiated an aura of absolute fury. Seiya suddenly pointed at the photo behind him and asked Jihan, "Uncle, was it you who broke the family picture?" Her question made Jihan's heart skip a beat. He quickly replied, I'm sorry, Seiya. I was so angry, I kind of lost control." He thought to himself, "Did I go too far? No matter what, that man is still Seiya's father. I wonder if doing this will make her upset." But Seiya didn't blame Jihan for it at all. The little girl smiled and said, "Why'd you beat me to it?" "I wanted to do that too. Don't worry, I won't get the wrong idea. I'm really okay, I promise." Jihan stood there, stunned for a few seconds, then thought to himself, "Oh, right, that's CA for you. Even if her mother, my sister, were to die, and even if her father, Yoon Se-jin, betrayed them and left, she would still smile and act cheerful. She worries more about me than she does about herself." But Jihan knew better than anyone that deep down, she wasn't as happy as she seemed. He gently placed his hand on Seiya's head and praised her. "You've really grown up. Now you even know how to comfort and take care of your uncle." "It's okay," Jihan told himself. "Don't worry, Seiya. From now on, I will protect you. I will never let anyone hurt you ever again." The strong girl from before. She shouldn't carry so much on her shoulders. The strong girl from a moment ago now closed her eyes tightly, burying her head into her uncle's chest, and meekly replied, "Okay. Thank you, Uncle, but... Uncle, why do you smell so sweet?" Seiya's nose was as sharp as a puppy's. She could smell the snacks Jihan had left all the way by the door. In the metropolitan city of Seoul, at the Gangnam District Branch Guild, Ga-eun was wearing a rather unhappy expression after everything she'd been through with Jihan in the zombie defense map. Meanwhile, Miss Lee Ha-ji-won, who was right beside her, couldn't stop laughing, having held it in for so long. Seeing this, Ga-eun said with a straight face, "You can just laugh out loud, you know, miss." "No, I'm sorry. Just laugh." And so, Ha-ji-won decided not to hold back anymore and burst out laughing. Her laughter echoed throughout the entire branch guild for everyone to hear. "Ha ha ha ha! I'm so sorry, Ga-eun, I really am." Even Ga-eun felt a little embarrassed. Seeing Lee Ha-ji-won like this, she started to sulk. Miss Lee wiped away her tears, still not quite believing what she'd just heard. She continued, "So the promising Lim Ga-eun asked for his player number and got rejected? That guy is hilarious." And the reason was that he couldn't remember his own phone number. "That's a new one, haha." Ga-eun looked down, sighed, and continued, "There was nothing I could do. He already said that. How could I force him? Besides, they say that when someone of the opposite sex sees you for the first time, they judge you on your appearance. And I'm not as beautiful as you, miss. I look more like a boy than a girl." Hearing Ga-eun's confession surprised Lee Ha-ji-won. She thought to herself, "The only problem is Does she have any idea how popular she is? Just then, a few handsome men behind Gayan were whispering amongst themselves. Hey, that's the flowering sword, Gayan! Should I ask her out on a date? The guy next to him immediately tried to talk him out of it. She'll split you open like a watermelon. Then the young lady walked ahead, waved back, and said that if she went out and ran her mouth like that, she would get a scolding. After that, the two of them went upstairs, sat down to sip coffee, and watched the street from above. Lee Hajiwan smiled happily and said, Ha, only here do I feel the most relaxed. Ga-eong, standing beside her, asked, So, miss, what do you plan to do about recruiting Seo Yun-jihan? Lee Hajiwan sighed and replied, What do you mean? What do I plan to do, you ask? No matter what, I have to recruit him into the guild. That crazy old geezer is forcing me to. I'm really feeling the pressure. I think that guy Seo Yun-jihan is a talent we should recruit. Just then, a notification arrived on Lee Hajiwan's phone. The title of the notification was, Predicting the Winner on the Battlefield. The young woman opened her status window and said, What's this? Why is some random nobody live streaming today? There aren't any big matches happening today, are there? Ga-eong, seeing this, asked curiously, Miss, do you often watch trashy streams like this? What do you mean, trashy? This is just a simple strategy analysis stream. But then, surprise appeared on both of the girls' faces. Ga-eong stammered, Miss, is that Seo Yun-jihan? They quickly realized that the random nobody they were wondering about was the one streaming. It turned out to be none other than Seo Yun-jihan. The man stared into the camera and said, Seo, is it good now? The girl replied, It's good. Is it okay on your end of the phone too? Ga-eong grimaced and asked Lee Hajiwan, This is the stream you watch to predict winners? That's not important anymore, Jiwan said hastily. Seo Yun-jihan. What surprised Lee Hajiwan even more was the title of the stream Jihan had put right at the top. It was I Am the Sword King's Brother-in-Law. It wasn't just Lee Hajiwan, but everyone watching the stream. I was utterly astonished. A flood of comments poured in. They saw the picture of the twin swords behind Jihan and realized it seemed to be true. This guy was at the sword hall. That twin sword symbol was the statue of two swords hanging at the top of the Sword King's building. It was the clearest proof of what Jihan was saying. Seeing this, Jihan spoke up, Seo, can you step back a little? Immediately, countless comments were posted. Seo, isn't that the traitor's daughter? If she's the traitor's daughter, I wonder if the daughter is just like the father. While the crowd was busy mocking the Sword King, a few people quickly noticed Jihan channeling power into his body. Then he slowly lifted his right foot. No one knew what trick Jihan was about to pull. Then he stomped his foot hard on the ground. With a loud crash, the ground where he stood, along with the base of the twin sword statue, was shattered by the aftershock of the stomp. This act by Jihan made Lee Hajiwan, Ga-eong, and countless viewers' jaws drop in amazement. What the hell is that madman doing? But it didn't stop there. Next, Jihan once again channeled power into his fist. He lunged forward and unleashed a powerful punch, instantly smashing the twin sword statue to pieces. The viewers of this live stream quickly jumped to 20,316 people. Countless people were thrilled by Jihan's actions, but among them, there were still some die-hard fans of the Sword King who were enraged. How dare you do that to the twin sword statue? The Sword King will definitely not forgive you. And just like that, the number of views and comments skyrocketed exponentially. The current view count for the stream had reached 1,297,836, accompanied by countless achievement unlocked notifications. After dealing with Yoon Se-jin's twin sword statue, the seam on his shirt shoulder had ripped, but Jihan paid it no mind. He clenched his fist and began to speak. Next, I will talk about the naturalization of the Sword King, Yoon Se-jin. PalhoNet, a live streaming system from PalhoNet, is similar to YouTube, a platform that is beloved and holds the largest market share globally. And because this is part of BattleNet, the number of viewers, subscribers, and views all these factors provide Jihan with rewards upon reaching a certain level. For Seo Yun-jihan right now, the title Brother-in-Law of the Traitorous Sword King was a golden opportunity to collect all the rewards. A series of notifications such as Achievement attracted viewers and Normal Achievement reached 100,000 dislikes appeared before Jihan. He chuckled to himself. As expected, the number of dislikes is insane. To think that even after betraying the country, that guy Yoon Se-jin still has so many die-hard fans. Just then, a comment caught his attention. How dare you destroy the Twin Swords Monument? That's the Sword King symbol. What if the Sword King can't return because of what you did? A black logo with two crossed swords. At this thought, Jihan frowned in anger. It's the Sword King's clan, a bunch of die-hard fans of that so-called Sword King. They were the ones who pushed her to the edge. Even though they gave their absolute support to Yu Se-jin, their resentment grew day by day. And that resentment began to shift towards his only blood relative, Seiya. The Sword King has abandoned this country. It's because of his unruly daughter. Yun Seiya must die for the Sword King to return. Kill her! Kill her! Those were the excuses they made up, just to cover for the Sword King abandoning the country. Because they needed someone to take responsibility for the Sword King's actions. Jihan couldn't let that tragedy happen again. He volunteered to be the target, to take that responsibility. Suppressing his anger, he spoke calmly. I hope everyone listens carefully to what I'm about to say. He punched the sword statue hard and continued. Yu Se-jin is not coming back. As Jihan's words rang out, a few people in the crowd of onlookers recognized him. Isn't that person Jung Jihan from the Bronze League? Look at the way he's making a mountain out of a molehill. How can you say that after watching him shatter the twin sword statue immediately after? Jihan stood before all the viewers in Korea and opened his phone. I will let you all hear the original recording, a conversation between your Sword King and his daughter, Seiya, after he left Korea to become a Japanese citizen. Father? What is all this? Why did you leave so suddenly? I found someone I love. What do you mean? I just want what's best for her. The whole truth about the so-called Sword King's true colors was witnessed by the entire nation. Most of the viewers were stunned, still unable to believe this reality. Some were already showing their fury that such a scumbag, Baitul, was once the idol of so many Korean people. When it got to the part, that was the condition for that woman to accept my feelings, Jihan turned it off. Some commentators sneered, an international marriage, huh? No wonder that guy was willing to abandon his country and his daughter. His die-hard fans, however, were still in denial, claiming it was a fabrication. That can't possibly be true. Next, it was Seiya's turn to stand before the camera. The young girl looked at her uncle and smiled. Then she spoke sincerely. Hello, everyone. I am Yun Seiya, the Sword King's daughter. What just happened was a huge shock to me. I'm standing here because I have an announcement to make. My father said he would leave the Sword Palace to me. Hearing this, a few people showed their envy. I can't believe she gets to inherit the Sword Palace. Others were curious. Why isn't my dad the Sword King? I want to inherit the Sword Palace too, Seiya continued. However, I cannot accept the inheritance of someone who has abandoned his country and his family. Therefore, the building he left me, I would like to donate it to the country. Public opinion erupted as the $1,000 building was given away by Seiya. Is she crazy? Did we hear that right? Seiya smiled with relief and added, I hope my contribution can support and help the country in training players in Korea. I will share the detailed information at a later date. Backtracking 30 minutes earlier, a completely shocked Seiya asked Jihan, Uncle, do you really want me to donate my house to the country? You don't seem drunk right now. Why do you suddenly want me to do that? Jihan winced as his niece pinched his cheek, and he confirmed it again. Seiya. Ow, that hurts! Seiya's eyes were already welling up with tears. She clenched her fists and asked once more, Why do you want me to donate everything we have? Are you out of your mind? Jihan replied seriously that he was completely sober, not drunk at all. Inwardly, he was thinking, to be honest, I wasn't confident from the start that I could convince her to do this. But look who ended up getting convinced. Because we're not just selling some ordinary building. This is something a normal person couldn't build in a lifetime. What we're doing is donating it, but I have to do whatever it takes to convince her. I just want what's best for her. The reason Jihan wanted to do this was to protect Seiya, to save her from trouble. Because in a while, when the Sword King, as Japan's representative in a match between Korea and Japan, was the one who defeated Korea, this created an outrage among the Korean people. The people's fury grew so large it became uncontrollable. The government couldn't appease their anger. So they confiscated all of Yun Se-jin's assets. After that, Seiya had to bear all the criticism from the people. The poor girl had nowhere to go, and she was constantly stalked and threatened by the Sword King's clan. And finally came the moment that girl was pushed to the edge by them and lost her life. Besides, it was going to be seized by the state sooner or later anyway. In that case, it's better for them to step up and donate to the government now. It'll appease the public and the government, and that way Seiya won't have to face that unnecessary criticism. Jihan crossed his arms, deep in thought. Seiya probably just sees me as some lazy uncle who stays home getting drunk all day. It's not like I can tell the kid I'm from the future. But Saya didn't show a hint of doubt in Jahan's words. The girl looked at her uncle, thought for a moment, and then nodded, agreeing to donate the building to the government. All right then. This completely surprised Jihan. He couldn't believe his ears and blurted out, "Huh? Saya, are you really okay with this? What's with your reaction? You're the one who suddenly changed your tune the moment I agreed. I mean, it's a little strange, isn't it? You're not the type to say things so impulsively. Besides, it's been a long time since I've seen that look on your face. That look of absolute confidence and clarity. That's why I trust you unconditionally." Hearing these words, Jihan smiled happily, thinking to himself, I wonder who this kid takes after. Back in the present, Jihan stood to the side, arms crossed, observing his niece. He was incredibly proud of his niece, Saya. She really was just like her mother, beautiful and talented. Just then, a few comments from the Sword King's clan popped up, catching the main character's attention. "In the name of the Sword King's representative, I'm telling you, Saya, you've been tricked. That guy is a con artist. That Seo Jihan isn't the Sword King's brother-in-law or whatever. He's a spy planted by the Japanese." But Jihan wasn't the least bit scared by their accusations, because that was his plan from the start. "Good. Keep insulting me just like that. This way, the people from the Sword King's clan won't cause trouble for Saya, but I have to make sure I achieve my final goal." After Saya finished her speech, it was Jihan's turn. He stood before the camera and continued, "Yoon Sejin, actually, I think I did a pretty good job. He says he did it all for a woman, but the truth is, anyone who knows the Sword King knows." Behind him, Saya's jaw dropped in surprise. "Uncle, I don't think this was in the script we talked about." Right after, Jihan added, "It's because he's washed up. You think we don't know you ran off to Japan because you knew you couldn't make it in Korea anymore?" His words once again created a wave of controversy. The people from the Sword King's clan started spamming threatening messages. "Jihan, watch your mouth!" A few others scoffed. Seo Jihan, some bronze ranker from the Gangnam server, is trash-talking the washed-up Sword King? What a joke. Jihan ignored the angry crowd. He declared loudly, "Take care of yourself in Japan. Yoon Sejin. Or should I call you Ryuhei? Because the next time we meet, I swear I'll beat you so bad your own mother won't recognize you." After the live broadcast ended, the sun was already setting. Saya asked worriedly, "Uncle, did you really have to do that? Now both Korea and Japan are in an uproar." Jihan chuckled softly and told Saya not to be so tense. "Just ignore them. Don't look at the news or you'll get stressed." Saya was still puzzled. "But I feel like something's not right with you. It feels like, since last night, you've become a completely different person." Hearing this, Jihan scratched his face and grimaced, thinking to himself, "It's understandable she'd think that. Yesterday, this uncle of hers was dead drunk, and today he's acting all mature. How could she not find it strange? But how am I supposed to act normal after dying and then regressing?" Thinking this, he replied, "I guess you see me as some kind of drunkard, don't you?" "That's not it. What are you talking about?" Even though it's true. While the two were busy bickering, the doorbell rang. Saya wondered aloud, "Who could be here at this hour?" Jihan, however, wasn't surprised. He replied, "I just didn't think they'd get here this fast." Sia's jaw dropped. She stammered, "Don't tell me. They're here for you?" "Don't worry, it's not like that." With that, Jihan gave a smug smirk, thinking, "All right, let's see now. Shall we make a little more money?" And at the same time, in Tokyo, Japan, the night sky was illuminated by city lights. The relationship between Japan and Korea is expected to remain tense now that the Sword King has become a Japanese citizen. I guess Korea will be outraged. Having lost their best player, they're trashing him online and saying it's all because of some woman. I wonder how beautiful she must be. Right. The problem is, the Sword King's brother-in-law has also issued a challenge. I'm curious to see how the Sword King will react to this. I think it's pretty understandable. They're saying the Sword King's brother-in-law is representing the wrath of the Korean people. This was the news that the Sword King, Yoon Sejin, was listening to. Just then, a woman behind Sejin sat up, her nightgown in disarray, and asked, "Is the news bothering you?" Sejin replied nonchalantly, "Not at all. You're awake?" "This news doesn't affect me at all." The woman replied, "It's fine. I can't sleep after getting high anyway." "Sejin, I'm just worried you're under a lot of pressure." Hearing this, the Sword King frowned and said, "Shizuru, don't call me Sejin anymore. I've taken your family name, so now I'm Itori Yuhei." But the girl immediately threw her arms around the Sword King and said, "No, you're wrong. You are Yoon Sejin, Korea's #1 player. The Sword Saint, Yoon Sejin." The Sword King turned to look at the girl, calling out to her lovingly, "Shizuru." She gently placed a hand on his face and continued speaking. "That's a truth that can never change." Immediately after, the two of them exchanged sweet words of love and shared a passionate kiss. "I love you. You are my Sejin." Back with Jihan. After hearing the doorbell, he stood up and went to open it. "Hello?" The other man replied as he took off his shoes. "Thank you, Mr. Xiong Jihan. Excuse me for intruding. It seems you were waiting for me," Jihan replied with a small laugh. "Not at all. I was just expecting the government to get involved now that a small problem has become a major issue." Minister Park Yoon-sik. The visitor was, just as Jihan had predicted, the head of the South Korean government's combat division, Park Yoon-sik, also known as Minister Park. After Yoon Se-jin left, the government had stopped visiting this place. This man was really only looking after Jihan and Seiya as a convenient way to keep them under surveillance. Seiya obediently greeted the minister, while Jihan, beside her, couldn't hide the smug look on his face. Now, it's time for the show to begin. Jihan was going to take everything he needed. Just then, Minister Park spoke up. "It was a bit violent, but I've already seen the footage. The government admits that we are unable to bring the Sword King back. However, we cannot let the public find this out right away. Korea's tournament is also approaching, so..." Jihan cut Minister Park off. "Why don't we stop beating around the bush and get straight to the point? You want me to retract the donation of the Sword Palace, don't you? Because as soon as it's accepted, it becomes an official admission that the Sword King isn't coming back." Minister Park was taken aback. This Jihan is so direct. Is this really the same pathetic guy from before? From what I remember, he was just an unemployed bum addicted to drinking and gambling. It's like this Jihan in front of me is a completely different person. Pulled from his thoughts, Minister Park sighed and replied, "You're right. We haven't completely given up hope of bringing the Sword King back. We'd like to propose a consignment management contract." Instead of a donation, Jihan quickly realized their goal. Consignment management. Transferring ownership rights to an organization for management purposes. How clever. They take responsibility for managing it until the real owner returns. Jihan crossed his arms, his expression serious. "So, the condition is that ownership of this place will be returned to the Sword King when he comes back?" "Yes, that's correct," Minister Park replied immediately. "In that case, it would be best if you and Seiya both continued to live here." Then, he took a contract folder from his bag. The terms inside were beneficial to both parties. "Please read it over and consider our offer," Jihan thought to himself. "It seems the government has put a lot of thought into this. I was planning on handing it all over anyway. Since they've come this far, going along with their plan is better for both me and Seiya." Then Jihan said to Minister Park, "I understand. We agree to the government's consignment management contract. However, we have one condition." The scene changes to an arena. Streamer Huang Guang had just started his live stream. Right after the notification went out, a huge crowd of viewers flooded the channel to watch as the man named Huang Guang waved to everyone. He cheerfully announced, "Welcome, everyone, to my broadcast. Today we return to the Colosseum of Blood and Sand." Right after that, Huang Guang leaped from the top of a statue's head down to the ground. As he jumped, he said, "Your dimension-hopping streamer is back to say hello with a radiant smile. I am streamer Huang Guang." Immediately, a viewer donated 100 GP with the message, "Go teach those silver-ranked scrubs a lesson today." When Huang Guang saw the GP donation, he instantly lit up. He started wiggling his butt to show his excitement. "Oh, there's my sugar daddy." I'll react with the 02 dance, even though it's a dead trend. Behind Huang Guang, many other players looked furious at the sight of him. Everyone grit their teeth, thinking to themselves, "It's that bastard again." The bastard they were all wishing would get hit by a car and be bedridden for a few years. That's him. Streamer Hyun Kong. He's a famous streamer known for his looks and exaggerated antics, a notorious troll who used to be a gold-ranked player. But he purposely dropped himself down to bronze rank to create content, calling it a deep-sea expedition. He doesn't care about the game anymore, he only cares about having fun, and people call him the ultimate troll. His gear and stats are still at gold level, so it seems he gets a kick out of harassing and killing players in bronze who are weaker than him. Hyun Kong feigned innocence, saying, "I'm not a devil, you know." The people behind him were trembling, thinking, they were right, you really are a gangster. After the introduction ended, Huyn Kwang began his noob hunt. He looked all around to pick out his first victim, then said excitedly, "All right, let's do this. That's enough of this boring stuff. Let's see who the first victim will be." Suddenly, Huyn Kwang saw a strange sight. He exclaimed in shock, "Content located!" In front of him was the man himself, Jihan, who had been extremely popular lately. With the title of the Sword King's brother-in-law, Hun Kuang immediately grabbed his mic and ran up to Jihan. "Mr. Seong Jihan, I'd love to interview you. Oh, brother-in-law of the Sword King, best player in the Bronze League, destroyer of the Twin Sword statue. You're known by so many nicknames." "You've been getting a ton of attention lately." Jihan didn't answer and coldly turned his face away. He thought to himself, he's a BottoTube streamer, huh? So loud. Now that I think about it, I believe there are still a few BottoTube achievements I haven't gotten yet. I'll boost my viewers count a bit. Meanwhile, Hun Kuang was cheerfully telling his viewers, "Oh, everyone, I've been completely and utterly ignored." After that, based on the comments, Hun Kuang realized that Jihan had also started his own live stream. He panicked, thinking to himself, "Crap, just now! Did I just give him free advertising? I need people to watch my stream, not his. What if all my viewers jump over to Jihan's channel?" Suddenly, a quest appeared before Hun Kuang. Quest creator. Channel 5th grade class 2. Kill Seong Jihan and make him drop to last place. Quest reward is 2,000 GP. Hun Kuang froze in shock after reading it. What? 1 GP is about 1,001, so that's like 2,000,000 won? I can't believe someone would offer such a huge price just to kill Jihan in a game. After looking at the comments, it seemed the quest creator was also a member of the Sword King clan. They even promised that if Hun Kuang completed it, they would increase the reward. Immediately after, a series of notifications about the increased reward appeared before Hun Kuang. He knew these people had a grudge against Jihan, but he never thought they'd be this crazy. Right after that, very quickly, the reward for the mission to assassinate Jihan had already climbed to nearly 32,000 GP, but the number just kept climbing. Hun Kuang covered his mouth in shock. He stared at the status window, thinking, it's already over 30,000. Now it's hitting 40,000. At this rate, I might even get 50,000 GP. Following that, when the announcement, "All players have been summoned, the game will now begin," rang out, the number stopped increasing. The final amount for the quest to assassinate Jihan, to make him fall to last place, reached a value of 42,713 GP. A colossal sum that even a famous streamer like Hun Kuang couldn't stay calm about. He knelt on the ground and shouted, unable to hide the happiness on his face. Then, Hun Kuang covered his face and started crying. You might think he felt sympathy for Jihan, but it turns out it was because it had almost reached 50,000 GP. What a shame. This taunt from Hun Kuang immediately had an effect because right after, a viewer from the Sword King clan commented, "If you can really kill Jihan, I'll personally send you 10,000 GP. Having achieved his goal, Hun Kuang solemnly declared, "I, Hun Kuang, have felt your determination. I will definitely not let any of you down." Right after that, Hun Kuang began to get into a fighting stance. He said in a loud voice, "Seong Jihan, prepare to fall into despair. From this moment on, I, Hun Kuang, will end this game for you earlier than expected." The next second, the active skill Preparation was activated. Accelerates the player's body towards the target in front, at an extremely high speed. Then, Hun Kuang rushed towards Jihan at a speed invisible to the naked eye. "And I will become your own personal Grim Reaper." But just as he swung his sword down, the same old scenario from the Bronze League repeated itself. Jihan effortlessly used an item in his hand to send Hun Kuang's sword flying high into the air. While the guy was still stunned, the sword was already neatly in Jihan's hand. Seeing that it wasn't too chipped, Jihan remarked, "As expected of a good, durable sword, it turned out the thing in Jihan's hand was a D-rank holy item called Extraterrestrial Cooking Pestle. Aliens on another planet use this to cook heretics. You can experience its full power when equipped with both the cooking knife and pestle." Jihan thought to himself, "I swung that with all my might. In that case, maybe I should also use a sword. A heretical one." Right after that, Jihan pulled the cooking knife, part of the same set as the pestle, from his pocket. With just a few basic slashes, he struck Hun Kuang so hard that he couldn't even land on the ground. He could only take the blows mid-air. Viewers who witnessed this were astonished and flooded the comments. What was that? Is that sword aura? That's right. My god, a silver-ranked player using sword aura? But this guy doesn't have any holy power, does he? But wait, if he does have holy power, could it be that this Jihan guy is a support class player? Then, a notification appeared before Jihan. Player Sion Jihan has achieved first blood. Reward, 100 GB points. Jihan was very pleased with the kitchen knife item in his hand. With it, Jihan could both slice up guys like Hun Kuang and increase his own holy power. Looking at the knife made him suddenly remember that it's been a while since he's been in the kitchen. How very relevant. It was like I had fallen into the endless night of death, unable to see anything, as if every spark of light in my life had been extinguished, and yet, the darker the night, the brighter the stars shine. Your streamer Hun Kuang has been revived for all of you. The viewers saw this and wondered, how did he revive so easily? Is this guy hacking the game? It turns out Hun Kuang possessed an item called the Regeneration Cross. Effect: revives the user one time. This item can be used within the National League's jurisdiction, party matches, or BROMO games. Although he had revived, everyone was very disappointed in him, especially the people from the Sword King clan. They believed that Hun Kuang had failed to complete his mission. Seeing the viewers' disappointment, Hun Kuang quickly spoke up to explain, "Oh my, it seems my carelessness has made many of you watching the live stream quite dissatisfied, huh? However, everyone just wait a little longer. Soon enough, I'll pay that Jihan guy back. With interest, you'll see." Hun Kuang was still standing there boasting, completely unaware that Jihan had been standing behind him for some time. With a contemptuous smirk, Jihan said, "Oh really, is that so?" With 2 more clean slices from the knife, Jihan once again made this Hun Kuang guy log out. This time, not even God could bring him back again. The system immediately displayed a notification. "Player say on Jihan, double kill." After dealing with the streamer, Jihan thought to himself, "It's been a long time since I've met a player who uses a resurrection item like that. In the future, almost no one uses them anymore. Not because of the penalty, but because of their loopholes." Looking up at the observation deck, Jihan also noticed that it was much more crowded than usual today. Perhaps it's because the audience came to watch the game, which starts today. What's more, the audience today are the woodland elves. They're the bastards that make me sick. The ones who contributed the most to humanity's downfall. But that's a story for later. For now, I should just focus on dealing with the current situation. Seeing everyone around him standing in groups and keeping their distance from him, Jihan began to understand the problem. It seemed as though Jihan had been isolated by everyone. Just as he thought they were about to gang up on him, Jihan saw them all scatter and run, their faces unable to hide their terror as they screamed. "This isn't the time to fight. We better run." Even a gold-ranked player like Hun Kuang got totally wrecked by that Jihan guy. Meanwhile, Jihan stood there, stunned, and sighed in frustration. With the situation like this, if this keeps up, the efficiency of the hunt will plummet. Looking at the 2 non-set items he just obtained, he mumbled, "And besides, it took me forever to find a D-rank item." But he thought to himself, "To gain holy power, I need to keep fighting more." Just then, a notification was sent by the system. He excitedly read the notification. "New mission initiated. Normal mission. Subdue the goblins. Defeat all the goblins gathered around the Goblin King." Jihan smiled and exclaimed, Well, this is truly a gift from the gods. Just when I needed firewood, I stumbled upon a lush forest." Right after that, Jihan, carrying a cooking pestle, went around bonking each of the green goblins on the head. Each one took a bonk to the head and was logged out, unable to resist. Then, the system sent another notification. "You have used a holy item correctly, causing them to surrender." The D-rank cooking set is reacting. Jihan had finally figured out how to use it properly. First, you have to use the cooking pestle to smash the goblins' heads, and then use the kitchen knife to stab them in the heart. Since it's a set item, it has to be used in a specific order. Luckily, Jihan figured this out before the tournament ended. But not too early, seeing as he'd already beaten quite a few goblins to death by then. But it wasn't over yet. In front of Jihan stood the tournament's boss monster, the Goblin King. It was 3 meters tall, twice the size of a normal adult. And it was far superior in both physical strength and intelligence. But what's the point of all this explanation? The boss monster's face was already caved in from one of Jihan's blows. "Even if you're the Goblin King, it makes no difference. 1 hit is all it takes," Jihan said coldly. "So what if you're superior? In the end, you're still just a bigger goblin." Then, following the procedure, Jihan drew his kitchen knife and stabbed it straight into the goblin's chest. A notification was issued immediately after. "Mission cleared. Subdue the goblins. You have received an additional 500 achievement points as a reward. Holy power increased by 1. The cooking set item set has degraded from D rank to E rank. Although the set's quality had degraded, Jihan could still get 1 more point of holy power from it. Before it becomes useless junk, it's still very useful. but these two items are too slow. They can't keep up with Jihan's monster hunting speed. Perhaps he needs to change his target to the group of players far off in the distance. This bunch seems intent on avoiding Jihan, standing really far away to fight. Jihan starts rolling up his sleeves and says, "This is annoying, but I guess I have no choice. If the mountain won't come to me, then I will go to the mountain." After that, Jihan's entire body radiated a terrifying power. Seething with killing intent, he carried his cooking set like a god of death and walked towards the group of players. The crowd of viewers started sending their thoughts and prayers online for the people in this Silver League. One viewer criticized, "Jihan doesn't seem very good at managing his stream, huh? Still, he's way better than that talentless, useless guy who died early." At the same time, in the high-end urban area of Gangnam, Seoul, the guy named Hun Kwang was at home. He proved himself to be a true keyboard warrior when he read those critical comments. He immediately understood the situation. Furious, Hun Kwang pointed at the screen and yelled, "That useless guy everyone's talking about. They mean me, don't they? Then what about when you were all kissing my ass, saying I was a talented live streamer? What was all that about, huh? Besides, I'm not even weak. It's just that he's terrifyingly strong. Haven't you guys even watched any of the analysis videos? For example, in a clip from his stream fighting goblins, his estimated average stats were 35. The stat limit in this Bronze Cup is only 25. How the hell could a guy who just got promoted from Bronze to Silver possess such insane stats?" While Hun Kwang was silently cursing Jihan for being a damn game hacker, a few screams, like pigs being slaughtered, came from the broadcast. When Hun Kwang looked up at the screen again, he realized it was the screams of the remaining players in the Silver League. He froze, his eyes wide with terror. A demon. Jihan had transformed into a butcher. With his cooking set in hand, wherever he went, someone dropped dead. No one could withstand a single attack from Jihan. The system immediately displayed a notification. "Player Jihan got a double kill." The other viewers couldn't help but be amazed. They quickly commented, "This is art." What the hell was that? He ran straight through and took off 4 people's heads. A series of notifications were sent: triple kill, quadra kill, and finally pentakill. Just like that, Jihan single-handedly turned the virtual world upside down. He beat the other players so badly that those standing on the sidelines turned pale. The archer told the bald guy next to him, "Baldy, let's call a temporary truce. You hurry up and use your tune to buff my power. I'll put everything I have into destroying that damned game hacker." Hearing this, the bald guy grimaced and replied, "Who are you calling Baldy, you plate-faced?" In a single move right after, the archer yelled out, "Hey, you damn game hacker. Damn it, there has to be a limit." With that said, he fired a barrage of green arrows towards Jihan. But, with the same old demeanor, Jihan just used the rolling pin from his cooking set to easily swat away every single arrow. As a result, not a single arrow hit Jihan. The bald guy and the archer, watching this from behind, were completely demoralized. They had lost all courage to fight Jihan anymore. The fate of these two guys was to become another one of Jihan's trophies before being logged out of the game. The viewers once again spammed the comments. "What the hell? A 10-kill streak? Isn't this guy actually using hacks? Holy crap, this god is insane. Utif, is this guy even human anymore?" Right after, Jihan also received a notification. The cooking set is reacting. +1 holy power. Item rating for cooking set has dropped to F rank. You have cleared the hidden quest. Achieve a 10-kill streak in the Colosseum. You have received an additional 500 achievement points. After reading the notification, Jihan thought to himself, "Holy power and achievement points. Looks like I've met my quota for this round, but I'm still missing a lot of things. I need something more powerful and decisive." While lost in thought, Jihan's eyes suddenly widened in surprise. Just then, the system issued a new quest, Epic Quest. Find the Dark Queen among the audience members seated at the edge of the Colosseum and provoke her. Jihan wondered, an epic quest? An epic quest can appear in a Bronze Cup tournament? More importantly, the reward for this quest is 30,000 achievement points and the attention of a constellation. A constellation, a supreme individual being, each representing a star, a divine entity in BattleNet. Gaining the attention of a constellation means receiving their patronage, which helps you achieve abilities you normally couldn't. Something that's only supposed to be in effect way up in the Diamond Cup is happening right here, right now. Jihan frowned and told himself, "I have to get it, no matter the cost. If I can just pull one of them over to my side, then the other constellations are sure to show interest as well." However, being able to find the Dark Queen, who's blending in with the countless elves up there, is not going to be a simple task. Will I even be able to find her? Right now, CEO Jihan is one of the first people in the Republic of Korea to achieve a record of 10 consecutive kills. The previous record holder was the Sword King Yoon Seo-jin. News about this began to spread across the media. As a result, Jihan gained 10,000 followers and 4,000 views on his YouTube channel in just one day. The members of the Sword King's clan, who had previously been praying for Jihan's defeat, did a complete 180 and began to support him. And naturally, all that hatred was redirected to that bottom feeder, Hyeonkang. His live stream channel was flooded with hateful and critical comments, especially since out of Jihan's 10 kills, 2 of them belonged to him. The whole thing had become a joke. People used to mock him. Reading the pile of hateful comments, Hyeonkang could only sigh. Damn it. My reputation is in tatters. Oh well, it's useless to do anything about it now. So he decided that from this point forward, he would hop on the CEO Jihan hype train. You've got one more fan, Lord Jihan. Hyeonkang found a new dream, to become Jihan's editor. His goal was to make Jihan a superstar in the gaming world. Of course, who knew what CEO Jihan himself thought about that? Meanwhile, back at the enormous mansion belonging to Jihan and his niece, Seo, she was staring, jaw dropped, wondering what on earth she had just watched. Since when did my drunkard uncle get so strong? Seo, sitting stunned on the sofa, said, Uncle, I feel so bad for those guys who had to go up against you. It's really sad. Jihan replied calmly, Confrontations are, by nature, cold and cruel. Uncle, saying stuff like that makes you sound like a total jerk. Seo then added, Also, why were so many people trying to donate to you? And why did you block them all? Hearing that, Jihan opened his info window to check. It turned out he'd just forgotten to change his settings. It wasn't that he was refusing donations. Seeing this, his niece suggested something. Well, since you're planning to accept donations, why don't you go ahead and change the minimum donation amount? If you don't, won't it be super annoying to have notifications popping up all the time? Finding her suggestion perfectly reasonable, Jihan agreed wholeheartedly. You're right. Maybe I should set the minimum to 10 million won? Hearing that figure, his niece's jaw dropped. 10 million won? Are you planning to rob people online? To be honest, I'm not really concerned about the donation money right now. I'm more worried about the epic quest that unlocked. It's telling me to find and provoke the Dark Queen, but I have no idea how. How am I supposed to find the real Dark Queen among all those people in the stands? Just then, Seo spoke up. Uncle, do you need some help? I can always tell something's wrong when you make that face. She suggested, Why don't you tell me what's going on? Maybe I can help. Jihan gave a surprised smile. He thought to himself, She really is so much like her mother. Her personality, the way she speaks, her gestures, she's exactly like her. So Jihan sat down on the sofa and started to briefly explain his current quest to Seo. All right then, let's see just how smart my niece is. I have a quest to find the Dark Queen in the arena. The Dark Queen? Yeah, though I'm not entirely sure about the details. All I know is that she's somewhere in the stands. That is a weird quest. After getting the basic details, Seo decided she would carefully review the video footage to find the Dark Queen's identity for Jihan. Seeing her determination, he waved. I'm counting on you, kiddo. Jihan then went back to his room feeling conflicted. He desperately needed to complete this quest. But he felt guilty asking his niece for help, because it was like asking her to find a needle in a haystack. Well, I guess she wants to be a good niece. I should just be grateful for that. Now then, after procrastinating for a while, Jihan told himself it was time to sort out the things he'd been neglecting. He bought an additional class slot with the achievement points he had accumulated so far. With this, Jihan could unlock a new class slot. Among the 3 remaining options, Warrior, Mage, and Archer, he made his choice for his second class. Jihan chose the Mage class. The system immediately sent a notification. You have added the Mage class. Instantly, a purple aura of power enveloped the entire room. Jihan could even feel a new kind of power flowing from his heart. It felt very different from when he had holy power. The reason Jihan chose the Mage class after already having a support class was because of the unique stat that could only be obtained after unlocking these 2 classes. A unique power called Force. Before his regression one day, Jihan had overheard that guy Baron, a guildmaster from America, accidentally mention it while he was drunk. The old man Baron put his arm around Jihan's shoulder. I'm so pissed, Jihan, he confided. Exasperated, Jihan replied, Guildmaster, how many more times are you going to talk about that? Baron, his face as red as a monkey's butt, retorted, If you had just played by the rules back then, I would have accepted you as an American and treated you much better. For some reason, Jihan didn't understand. Normally, this guy was very arrogant and cold, but whenever he got drunk, he would confide in Jihan. But that day, he said something very strange. But I think that someday, you and I could become great friends, you know. Force? Jihan didn't understand what the man was saying, so he asked, Force? Do you mean, it's your skill? Baron asked in return, You don't know? I thought I told you about it before. Force is a stat that appears when you combine holy power and mana to a perfect degree. Of course, that's just in theory. It's not nearly that easy. Other people can't even try, because I'm the only one with 2 classes. This is something that only I can do, because I have 2 status windows for my 2 classes, Mage and Support. That was the reward Baron received for the Triple S rank gift. Jihan, shocked, asked again, The only condition is having 2 classes? Baron continued, That's right. There's also one other condition. Your holy power must be level 10 or higher. Baron replied with extreme confidence, The reason I'm telling you everything without hiding a thing is because I'm the only person who can have 2 classes at once. It wouldn't matter even if the whole world knew. Jihan stared at Baron, thinking to himself, He's confident that he's the only person in the world who possesses 2 classes at the same time. But his arrogance is well-founded. It's true that only Baron could possess force and a power overwhelming enough to rule the galaxy. But that's not going to be the case anymore. I now know the requirements, and I've already met all the conditions to understand just how insanely powerful this ability is. This ability is what brought Baron to the #1 position in the world rankings, even though he's already been horribly exploiting and manipulating it. If Jihan wants to be prepared for what's to come, he must risk his life to obtain this power. This is the most difficult stage for Jihan. He needs to endure, to focus on channeling holy power into his 2 hands and flowing mana from his heart to his hands to combine the 2 sources of power. He also has to condense the power so it doesn't leak out. This process is incredibly difficult and painful. A moment later, Jihan's room erupted with a loud bang. He was immediately thrown back by the blast of power. Jihan cried out in pain as his entire body slammed into the wall. He clutched his still dizzy head, thinking, Did the first attempt to fuse the 2 powers together fail? He sighed in frustration. This isn't something I can maintain steadily with my current strength. I can't believe I tried just once. And it completely drained Jihan's mana. Completely. Maybe I need to have a lot more mana before trying again. Jihan sighed once more, lost in thought. Can I combine them in my hands? But I can't hold that power in my hands forever. But this very thought sparked a bolder idea in Jihan's mind. Hold the power in my hands. Forever? He then shot to his feet, eyes shut tight, and began to ponder. Let's assume I can't maintain the power in my hands forever. But what if I brought it inside my body? I'll combine the holy power in the upper Dantian with the mana in the middle Dantian and keep both power sources stable. By using the power from the lower Dantian, if those 2 powers try to combine into a form so perfect that not a single bit of energy can leak out. What if I compress all 3 energy sources in that state? A moment later, Jihan felt an indescribable pain. A chaotic red power quickly invaded and enveloped his entire body. It caused him extreme agony. He was trying to combine all 3 Dantians. A danger warning was immediately issued. Player has exceeded maximum tolerance thresholds. Searching for life-threatening factors. Jihan's agonized screams reached Seiya's room not far away. She immediately grew worried. I wonder what Uncle is doing to cause such a huge commotion. The unification of the 3 Dantians, upper, middle, and lower. Jihan had tried to combine holy power and mana for an attack, and had unconsciously used that power to attempt to merge them. But the conditions for unification are extremely strict. You must have complete mastery over all 3 of these fundamentally different powers, and your body stat must be at least 100. If you don't meet that standard and still try to unify the 3 Dantians, you could lose your life. At this moment, Jihan was in excruciating pain. He collapsed onto the floor, trying to endure. As for Seiya, after hearing the commotion and Jihan's screams, the little girl immediately rushed to his room to see what was happening. Uncle, are you okay? Say something! But when she pushed the door open, the scene before her made her freeze. A basin of ice water and a towel. Seiya was still suspicious of Jihan's answer. You were screaming that loud just because you had a headache? Then how did you get better so quickly? Jihan, holding the towel to his head, replied wearily, It's rough. The human body is a strange thing, kiddo. You're too young to understand. This was clearly a lie that not even a child would believe. Be serious, Uncle. Surprisingly, Seiya suddenly covered her face and burst into tears. The little girl said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. I was just so scared. I thought something bad happened to you too, Uncle. Jihan immediately realized he had been too careless just now. I have to consider Sea's feelings. After all, I'm her only family now. It's understandable that she'd think that way. The girl wiped her tears and continued. So, you're okay, right? Yeah, I'm fine. Perhaps because he knew he was in the wrong, Jihan proactively apologized to his niece. This apology immediately calmed the crying Saya down. The girl instantly cheered up again. She also gave Jihan a not-so-light punch in the stomach, which almost made him throw up his dinner. I'm okay. As long as you're okay, Uncle, that's all that matters. After confirming that her uncle was fine, Saya went back to her room to continue searching for the Dark Queen. Watching the girl's retreating figure, Jihan told himself, from now on, I must never show any weakness in front of Saya again, so she won't worry. As for the fusion process from earlier, it had clearly failed, because Jihan lacked both experience and level. But luckily, Jihan had already obtained the power he wanted. When holy power and mana are combined, they are replaced by a unique stat called Force. Jihan had failed to merge the three Dantian together. The upper Dantian is the source of holy power. The middle Dantian is the source of mana, and the lower Dantian provides strength. But by combining holy power and mana, Jihan had obtained Force. The link between the three Dantian will be maintained weekly. When he opened his status window, Jihan was extremely surprised because his Force stat was displayed as 12. Could it be that the Force stat always starts at 12? The link between the three Dantian will be maintained weekly. The strength and Force stats interact with each other, sharing the agility value. So that's how it is. Then Jihan understood why his Force was at 12. After that, Jihan decided to put one stat point into strength, and just as expected afterwards, his Force points also increased to 14. Jihan gave a wry smile, thinking to himself, this is definitely a cheat. Just getting the Force stat was already amazing, and on top of that, I can even link Force and Strength together. He wondered just how overpowered it would be if he could merge the three Dantian together in the future. But that's probably something to try later. If I try it again at this weak level, Jihan would probably die, because now Jihan is considered a mage after all. He wondered, so what would happen if I used a mage skill? Then Jihan shouted, Fire skill! Immediately, a flame the size of an eggplant appeared in front of him, but it only lasted for a second before a notification popped up. Insufficient mana. Seeing this, Jihan gave another wry smile and said, How cute. The sun was peeking out from behind the tall buildings, its rays shining through the window into Jihan's room. As he opened his eyes, a series of notifications arrived. You have gained 10 holy power points. From now on, you will be unable to absorb holy power from D-rank holy artifacts or lower. Please use C-rank holy artifacts or higher. Jihan looked at the pile of holy artifacts beside him, sighed, and said, This pile of artifacts is all D and E rank. He had spent quite a few GP to buy them, and now they've all become a pile of useless junk. Jihan mumbled to himself as he walked. I have to go sell the rest of these right away. Saya, are you awake yet? When he didn't hear her reply, he went downstairs. Is she still sleeping? Hearing his call, this girl replied, Uncle, you're awake? Yes. Saya, what's with your face? Did you stay up all night? The little girl with panda eyes, sitting in the middle of the room, whimpered in response. Do I look that sleep-deprived? It was obvious at a glance that the kid had stayed up all night searching for the Dark Queen for Jihan. Jihan immediately chided her. Saya, you don't have to push yourself that hard. The little girl pointed at the laptop and replied, Look, Uncle, I found something good. In exchange for her all-nighter, Saya had some good news for Jihan. It seemed she had found a clue. This video contains another creature. Some people have a zoom binoculars skill, so they used it to secretly film a few scenes. Hearing this, Jihan frowned and thought to himself, using a skill to film someone secretly? While he was still hesitating, his niece added, Watch this. This is a recording of your match. Saya played a video showing 2 elf nobles. The audio was crystal clear. Look, everyone! Ha ha ha! Elves are so beautiful. Their skin is completely flawless. Sia grimaced and said, Ugh, that's creepy. I'm muting it. They're both nobles, but one is a dark elf. Doesn't the title Queen suit her? I think Dark Queen would be more fitting. What do you think? That sounds plausible. Great job, Saya. But we can't jump to conclusions just yet. This is just my speculation after all. Jihan kept praising the little girl, but in his heart he was thinking, no way. How could a constellation reveal their identity so blatantly? Sia added excitedly, Starting tomorrow, I'll watch foreign videos and then I'll edit your videos for you, Uncle. Jihan was stunned. He never imagined the little kid knew how to edit videos too. You're like a pro, huh? The little girl said proudly. Of course. So you'll edit videos with me? You know how to edit? Yeah, just a little. I used to make videos for my dad, you know. I was the one who made all of his combat videos. Her words made Jihan instinctively glance at the shattered picture of the Sword King on the wall. He couldn't help but feel a surge of rage, thinking to himself, Yoon Se-jin, that bastard. Did you really just abandon your own daughter here all alone? You pathetic scumbag. Flashing back to 2 days prior, during the unfinished conversation between Minister Park and Jihan and his niece. Minister Park said, I think I know who the Sword King's woman is. Hearing this, Seiya shot to her feet. Really? Who is it? Her name is Ito Shizuru, and she possesses an S-rank ability, nation-toppling beauty. Minister Park's words instantly stunned both Seiya and Jihan. The young man frowned and asked, So are you saying that Yoon Se-jin fell under that woman's bewitching spell? According to Park Yoon-sik, that was the South Korean government's speculation. Jihan was bewildered, thinking to himself, I've never heard of this before. The minister continued, Be careful, Mr. Seong Jihan. We believe that skill doesn't just control a person's body, but can also alter their thoughts. This has happened many times before. When South Korea's brightest stars suddenly fell into Japan's hands, if that skill has no limits, then she'll just reappear and charm new players. After hearing this, Jihan immediately began investigating Ito Shizuru's nation-toppling beauty, but he couldn't find a single piece of information related to her. Japan is really keeping this woman under wraps. Not a single piece of information has been leaked. Maybe Minister Park is right. I need to be careful with her myself. Otherwise, one day, I might become her target too. If what the minister said is true, then I'm afraid those people from Japan have already started to make their move. Jihan also needed to prepare a few things to deal with any unexpected events that might occur. While Jihan was busy preparing, on Japan's side, a plane belonging to the Japan Self-Defense Forces had already landed in South Korean territory. Early the next morning, both Jihan and his niece Seiya were dressed splendidly. She called out softly, Uncle, are you ready yet? We're going to be late. Jihan, adjusting his clothes as he walked, replied, Yeah, I'm almost done. Let's go, it's time to greet our honored guests. The elevator began its descent. Looking at Seiya's face, Jihan immediately realized she was very nervous. He spoke up to reassure her, Just relax. There's nothing to worry about. Seiya sighed and replied, Still, this is my first time appearing in public since the incident with my father, so I'm a little nervous. I just have to be brave and confident like last time. We have no reason to be ashamed of what other people think. We haven't done anything wrong. Jihan's warm, comforting words helped Seiya relax a great deal. After passing through the gates into the grand hall, Jihan added, Most of the people here already know what they want to hear. In front of the uncle and niece was a crowded grand hall. They were waiting outside, preparing to enter. Everyone was dressed formally and elegantly. The atmosphere exuded luxury and splendor. As soon as Jihan and his niece appeared, someone from behind spoke up. We were waiting for you, Mr. Seong Jihan. Everything you requested has been prepared. You may enter now. Thank you, sir. I'll be counting on you to handle everything until the event is over. It turned out the person who had just spoken was Minister Park. Mr. Park Yoon-sik said, I was very surprised by your request at first. I had never considered auctioning the Sword King's collection, so that's what this was about. What Jihan had proposed to Minister Park was to auction off the Sword King's collection, also known as the Auction of the Assets and Cherished Items of the Former Sword King, Yoon Se-jin, hosted by Department 8 of the Net Korea and Yoon Se-ah. At the time, Minister Park didn't understand why Jihan was doing it, but now he realized Jihan's purpose. You want to lure the Japanese into showing up here, don't you? Without a moment's hesitation, Jihan confirmed it. Minister Park was absolutely right. All the auction items Jihan had chosen were to serve this purpose. Yoon Se-jin's connection device and the combat data within it. That's precisely what Japan is targeting. Therefore, Jihan could say with certainty that Japan would be forced to act. Based on the current situation, according to Jihan, that Sword King might even show up himself. Whatever he does, this event will force the people of Korea to face the truth, and they'll have no choice but to accept it. Hearing those words from Jihan, Minister Park, who was beside him, was utterly astonished. Mr. Jihan. His confidence was written all over his face, as if he already knew what the future held. What was going to happen? Jihan didn't forget to remind Minister Park, this is the last chance to change public opinion. Please ask the reporters to keep an eye on the table reserved for the Japanese Self-Defense Force. Just then, from outside the hall doors, a few people were causing a commotion, demanding to be let in. Seiya, Yoon Seiya, wait! A guard stopped them and said, "You are not allowed to enter." "Please step back." "Just give us a moment. We're Yoon Se-a's family. The kid knows us." When little Se-a turned to look, she immediately recognized the two people making a scene outside as her aunt and uncle. Seeing her looking their way, the two of them shouted, "Se-a! Are you crazy? No matter how much you need money, why would you auction those things? Those items are priceless." Then Se-a's aunt and uncle turned to curse at Jihan. "It was you. You made her do this, didn't you? How dare you sell someone else's inheritance? You scamming bastard." Hearing this, Se-a became furious. "You're calling him a scammer? You're the real scammers. Weren't you forbidden from using my father's surname for fraud? Do you think I'm a child? Do you really think I'm that stupid?" Se-a's words were like a direct slap to her aunt and uncle's faces. "You think I don't know your goal is to take my father's money while he's not here?" Another direct hit from Se-a to her so-called relatives. They were purple with rage but couldn't get a single word out. The little girl enunciated every word clearly. "What my father left for me is mine. You have no right to interfere with what I want to do with it. Get them out of here. They don't have the right to be here. Let's go, uncle." After Se-a's declaration, her aunt and uncle were immediately kicked out of the auction by security. Jihan realized that his little niece had truly grown up. She even knows how to talk back now. He didn't need to worry so much about her anymore. After dealing with the recent mess, Minister Park pushed the door open, turned back and said, "Mr. Jihan, Miss Se-a, we've arrived. I will lead you in." As Jihan and Se-a appeared, the reporters there immediately focused all their attention on them. "There they are! It's Mr. Jihan! Quick, take pictures!" Then came a barrage of questions. "Mr. Jihan, can you tell us the purpose of this auction? I heard you're allowing other countries to participate in the auction. What is the reason for this? Miss Yoon Se-a, please look this way. Is it true that this sword and bow donation and this auction are all due to outside interference? Do you wish for the Sword King to return? What do you think about people saying you're just profiting from the fortune the Sword King left behind? Mr. Seong Jihan, please say a few words about your performance in the recent 8th tournament." The reporters bombarded the two of them with questions as they walked past, but a few of the questions were insulting to Se-a, which made Jihan not happy at all. Instantly, Jihan used his power. He controlled his fingertips and shattered all the cameras there. Not a single reporter knew what had just happened to their equipment. They all exclaimed in horror, "Why did the camera suddenly break? It wasn't even on. How could it be broken?" Then, Jihan stood on the stage and announced loudly, "This is an auction, not a press conference. We will now begin today's auction. We have prepared a total of 3 items for today. First up is Yoon's connection device. Sejin's device helps reduce shock from injury by up to 99%, and it comes with the data stored inside. In addition, we have Yoon Sejin's analysis data, compiled by him personally, and analysis data on other high-ranking gamers in the Asia region." The crowd below immediately began to murmur, "Data on the Sword King. That seems very valuable. The analysis data will be useful for us, especially in the upcoming Korea-Japan match." Jihan knew for sure that these items were things they couldn't afford to miss. Data on high-ranking players wasn't something you could find anywhere else. At that moment, the first person raised their hand to speak. As he looked towards the person who raised their hand, astonishment was clear on Jihan's face. The man said, "I am Takeda Kazuno, recruitment manager for the Japan Self-Defense Forces. If the auction has started, may I place a bid?" Immediately after, this Takeda Kazuno fellow offered a price of 5 billion yen for all of today's auction items. That number, 5 billion yen, instantly stunned everyone at the auction. Breaking out in a sweat, he continued, "Additionally, I'd like a private meeting with Miss Se-a and young Jihan after the auction concludes." Jihan knew exactly what he was up to. He stepped toward the man and announced, "I'm very sorry, but I cannot agree to this request. If you have something to say, please say it right here at this auction. This isn't the proper time for private meetings. I'm sure Japan is well aware of that, right?" Kazuno could sense the hostility in Jihan's words. He broke out in a sweat. Ho, young Jihan, don't look at me like that. You're scaring me. I'm just a guest at the auction, after all. Don't be so cold to me. If you keep provoking me like this, someone might not be able to let it slide. Specifically, my bodyguard, Sadu. She's no match for the Sword King, but she is a very skilled player. As Kazuno finished speaking, Sadu's sword was already at Jihan's neck. "Ah, I don't mean anything by it. I'm just letting you know." Instantly, Jihan's gaze turned ice cold. He thought to himself, what the hell is this? A dollar store version of the Sword Saint? It all happened in a flash. A figure appeared right in front of Jihan, her sword pressed against his neck, and at that moment, Jihan, without the slightest hesitation, he slammed his fist straight into her face. After taking a thunderous blow from Jihan, she staggered, her pride wounded and her anger flaring. She was about to draw her weapon to fight him to the death, but Jihan immediately put a hand on her shoulder and said, "You'd better stop. This auction is being broadcast live." All over the world. "You're not planning on waving a weapon in my face during a live broadcast, are you?" The netizens had already started flooding in with criticism, seeing the situation turn against him. Takeda Kazuno from Japan immediately stepped forward to apologize. "All right, that's enough. My bodyguard got a little carried away. Please allow me to apologize on her behalf. However, young Jihan, there are a few things we need to clarify. About the 5 billion yen, which includes the private meeting, I believe I need to hear an answer to that proposal, from Miss Sea's own lips." Hearing this, Sea looked bewildered and replied, "Huh? Me?" He continued, "Aren't the Sword King's assets under Miss Sea's ownership? If so, then the person in charge of this auction should rightfully be you, Miss Sea." Then, that guy Kazuno walked right up to Sea and asked her, "Miss Sea, what do you think of my proposal for a secret meeting? Don't you want to know where your father is right now?" Seeing Sea frozen and silent, he continued his verbal assault. "You can ask me anything. Of course, I have many things I want to tell you as well." Heh. He continued with a wicked expression. "So what are you going to do now?" Kazuno's words started to make Sea flustered. Kazuno thought to himself with certainty, 100% this kid will agree to my condition. How could a little brat refuse an offer of 5 billion yen? Unless she's a complete idiot. But Sea immediately rejected Kazuno's request, leaving him frozen for a few seconds. Figures. The ones who talk the loudest are always the first to get humiliated. The old man started to stammer, Wait, Choto, Kudasai, you want to give up 5 billion yen just because of this private meeting? That's 50 billion won in Korean currency." "Yes," Sea replied firmly. "That's right. But my uncle told me that we need to be careful at a time like this, and if my father can only be contacted through money, then I don't want to hear any news about him at all. Besides, I'm still a minor, so I have to follow my uncle's advice." The crowd there let out a sigh of relief at Sea's words. "Phew, that was a close call. I thought those Japanese guys were going to snatch up all of the Sword King's items. But we can't let our guard down yet." "That's right. Even though she refused the private meeting, we don't know how much the Japan Self-Defense Force will bid now." Kazuno then announced, "So you've refused the private meeting. I suppose there's no other choice then. In that case, we, the National Defense Force, will still bid 5 billion yen for those items." Even Jihan was surprised by this statement from Kazuno. He wondered suspiciously to himself, what kind of trick is he planning to pull now? Kazuno continued, "To be honest, the private meeting was just an option that I added in on my own whim. I was instructed beforehand by the Sword King himself to bid 5 billion yen right from the start." The guy took out a letter and handed it to Zia. "This is a letter from the Sword King for you, Miss Zia." As soon as Zia looked at the letter, she recognized the name on it. Itoryu Hei, the name the Sword King started using after becoming a naturalized Japanese citizen. That guy, Kazuno, turned to the other bidders present. "Is it really this easy to get the Sword King's items? Or is it that Korea's 8th total Netto team can't even afford 5 billion yen to bid against me?" This taunt from him was like a direct slap in the face to the Koreans present. He even turned to mock Jihan. "Well now, this auction seems to have ended rather quickly, hasn't it?" That man, Jihan thought, is the head of personnel recruitment for the the Japan Self-Defense Forces. Before the regression, he was banned from entering the United States. He was strangely good at recruiting foreign players, and for that, he was called the Great Calamity of Japan. He smiled cheerfully and said, "Well then, Mr. Seong Jihan, shall we start writing up the contract?" Jihan thought to himself. He might be connected to the player who uses kingdom-toppling beauty. These two are probably closely related. I need to keep an eye on him. Snapping out of his thoughts, he replied, "All right." With this atmosphere, things don't look good. Japan acquired these items far too easily, as if we had promised to give them to them from the start. This is going to look terrible in front of the media. The crowd at the auction was dejected. 5 billion yen right from the first bid? Then what the hell is the point of an auction? If that's the case, why did we even come here? It's pointless. Jihan thought, everything is still fine. I just need one thing to turn the tables. Just then, Zea's voice rang out. It seemed she was reading the letter her father, the Sword King, had sent her. Zea, I heard on the news that you donated the Sword Palace. I don't know why you did that, but it truly is a great pity. This is the last asset I will leave to you, so use it wisely. And this is the end of our father-daughter relationship. So don't expect to see me again. Wiping her tears, Zea added, That's what's written in the letter.
This is definitely my father's handwriting.
Jihan's eyebrows furrowed. He thought to himself, kingdom-toppling beauty. I heard it can control a person's mind. It seems that wasn't just speculation, but the truth. I've hated that man for a very long time, but at the very least, he was always a very good father to Zia. I can't believe he would do this to Zia. After that, Zia stood before everyone and tore the Sword King's letter to shreds. She declared loudly, "Mr. Takeda, please relay this message to Mr. Ito for me. I have received his assets. And I am also very happy to sever this relationship. Oh, that's right. But I've accidentally torn the letter now. Does that mean I've just created more work for the cleaning staff?" Jihan, who was beside her, immediately chimed in, "It's all right, Zia." He immediately moved to incinerate the entire letter. "I'll help you take care of this. You don't need to worry about a thing." The letter was completely incinerated by Jihan's fire magic. Seeing this, the crowd gaped in astonishment. "That fire magic, that's a mage's skill, isn't it? How can he possess a warrior's skills along with the holy power and mana of a mage?" Immediately, old Takeda's attention was fixed on Jihan. "Song Jihan, that man. I want him. He is the one we Japan must have." While the old man was lost in thought, hundreds of people rushed toward Jihan. They scrambled to offer their guild business cards, saying, "Mr. Jihan, I heard you don't belong to any guild, is that right? We'll meet any of your demands. You just have to join my guild. I'd even wash your feet for you!" Jihan had to politely refuse them. "Everyone, wait a minute. Rushing me like this is making me a little uncomfortable. I'm not really in the mood to discuss these matters right now." While Jihan was busy turning the crowd down, Zia suddenly called out, "Uncle!" "Zia, I'm sorry. You go on ahead, I'll catch up with you right away." Behind him, Zia was suddenly struck by a splitting headache. Then, she collapsed unconscious on the ground. Jihan was horrified when he saw this. He anxiously rushed over to Zia. Jihan, filled with terror, shouted, "Zia, open your eyes!" A moment later, the little girl weakly opened her eyes and whispered, "Uncle, am I okay?" "Hang in there. I'll get you to a hospital right away." But then the little girl grabbed the hem of Jihan's shirt and whispered in his ear, "Uncle, I'm just acting." Her words left him completely stunned, not understanding what was happening. Zia winked, smiled softly, and thought to herself, "I think he was feeling awkward in front of the crowd, so I did this on purpose to help him out." Jihan, bewildered, replied, "Huh? Why are you acting now? We can't participate in the auction if you do this." At that moment, Jihan finally understood the situation. He let out a long sigh and thought, "Oh my God, this kid is exactly like her older sister, from her intelligence to her looks." Then Jihan stood before everyone there and announced, "I'm very sorry, but I'll have to end this auction early. My niece's health is in jeopardy. She needs to rest." Both Jihan and his niece, Sei-Ah, were putting on an act in front of everyone. Jihan supported a weakened Sei-Ah as they walked towards the main entrance. That guy Kasuno saw this and called out to the two of them, "Excuse me, Mr. Seo, just a moment. I apologize if my appearance has caused any trouble. I just wanted to formally extend an invitation to you and say hello. In a proper manner, that's all. You'll contact me later, won't you?" Jihan immediately used his power to pull Kasuno's business card into the air and tear it to shreds. He replied coldly, "That is my answer." A decisive and unhesitating response. A few onlookers began to mock. "Look at that! The head of recruitment for the world's 4th-ranked guild just got rejected by a Bronze League Korean player. That old geezer must be furious, right?" But contrary to their thoughts, a closer look revealed he wasn't angry at all. The man was smiling with delight, having found a new and incredibly interesting person. "Just as I predicted. You truly are the best, Seo Jihan. That power is real. And that mysterious power that tore up the business card too, with that source of power alone, he's more than worth investing in. Even if he's only a Bronze League player, he's a rising star who will grow even more in the future." That guy Kasuno swore that he would recruit this Jihan, no matter the cost. After leaving the auction, the uncle and niece high-fived in celebration. Jihan started praising her. "Your acting is on par with an A-list star. You even had me fooled." Sei-Ah replied smugly, "Ahem. Is there anything I'm not good at, uncle?" "Cooking." At that moment, a notification suddenly appeared in front of Jihan. "You have one unread message." A message from someone named Take. "Take-chan has sponsored you with 10,000 GP. Dear Seo Jihan, it was a pleasure to meet you today. Let's meet privately next time. Forever your fan, signed Take-chan." Jihan wondered aloud, 10,000 GP? I've already turned off the broadcast channel and he's still sponsoring me? Unbelievable. To think the first person to sponsor me would be this perverted bastard. I should probably block him. Se-ah, reading over his shoulder, teased. Wow, the way he talks is so cheesy. Another greeting rang out. Hello, Seo Jihan and Yoon Se-ah. It's an honor to meet you both in person for the first time. I am here representing the Divergence Guild to greet you. I am Lee Hayon, head of Division 3. And next to her was an old acquaintance of Jihan's. Flowery Sword, I wanted to meet you both so badly that I came all this way. My apologies for being so abrupt. Jihan wondered, besides those involved with the auction, you shouldn't be able to get in here. How did you do it? Jihan could tell the voice of the girl in front of him was very familiar. He wondered if he had met her before. Lee Hayon replied, I've always maintained a close relationship with Division 8 of TH-NET in Korea. I just used my connections. At the office, I'm famous for being a social butterfly, you know. Jihan froze, thinking to himself, that shameless level of confidence and that tone of voice. I'm sure I've met this girl somewhere before. Lee Hayon extended her hand towards him and continued, before we get down to business, Mr. Victorious Messenger Seo, I'm a longtime fan of yours. After she said that, Jihan remembered. It's definitely her, there's no mistake. It can only be her. Se-ah beside him turned her head to look at her uncle, thinking, what's going on? He's completely frozen. Could it be that this girl is the woman of his dreams? Suddenly, Jihan spoke up. This world is full of temptations, so it's difficult to ignore them. That's a famous quote from the writer Dostoevsky, a great author who was also famous for his gambling. Do you like that quote? Jihan's statement immediately sent the two girls in front of him into shock. Gaeon instantly stood protectively in front of Lee Hayon and said, My lady, let me handle this. Just who are you? How do you know the young lady's motto? The fact that she's a gambling addict is only known to a handful of people. How could a complete stranger like you possibly know that? Jihan chuckled to himself, thinking, there's no doubt about it. She's from America's first guild, the one who manages Zero. The only other Korean in that guild besides me. She used to be a good-for-nothing who only knew how to drink and gamble, but she became a guild master after obtaining the voice ability. At first, the voice ability was a skill that was only used to receive support effects after the tutorial ended. Its growth potential expanded to all other aspects, including stats and gift levels. The S-rank skill, voice, and the experience growth effect. The designated player's stats and gifts were increased. From that moment on, this skill started to become useful, and the strongest among the voice users is her Zero. Gaeon suddenly spoke up, asking, My lady, you go to casinos to play too? Lee Hayon whimpered and stammered, Don't say it, Gaeon. Don't say another word. Jihan was still lost in his own thoughts. First the Sword of Seduction, and now Zero. It seems the Divergence Guild is doing a great job with recruitment. Then Jihan spoke up, I saw her on a stream before. Among all the comments, Ms. Lee Hayon's was the one that caught my eye. That's why I repeated that motto just now. Sorry if I gave you a scare. Hearing that, the younger woman turned to ask Lee Hayon, You were making childish comments like that while watching a live stream? Lee Hayon blushed crimson with embarrassment, wishing a hole would open up and swallow her whole. After regaining her composure, Lee Hayon cleared her throat and said, I'm not very happy about being suddenly labeled a gambling addict like that. Jihan smiled, thinking to himself, Who's labeling you? It's the truth. Beside him, Sia's jaw dropped in surprise. He's smiling. He's definitely fallen for her, Lee Hayon continued. But it's fine. I don't mind taking the initiative in this comfortable atmosphere. And it's quite strange. I have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot of each other from now on. Then Lee Hayon took her phone out of her pocket and approached the two of them. This action made Sia even more certain. These two are about to exchange numbers to go on a date tonight. Isn't this plot developing a little too fast? Lee Hayon added, The Divergence Guild wants you, Mr. Seong Jihan. Let's meet again next time. Just the two of us. The fangirl niece was overjoyed. She cupped her face in delight, thinking, I knew it! Just the two of us! Am I about to get an aunt? This is happening so fast. Hayon was smugly thinking to herself, Wasn't I just irresistibly charming? I'm great at maintaining a professional distance while being direct when it comes to romance. Watch closely, Gaeon. Watch and learn how I handle men. Then Lee Hayon pretended to tuck her hair back to seductively reveal her earrings, but Jihan, with a deadpan expression, replied, sorry, but I don't remember my phone number. This excuse from Jihan left not only Lee Hayon and Gaeon, but also his own niece, completely frozen. But Sia quickly thought, could it be my uncle is playing hard to get? He must have it all planned out. I have to help him. After that, Sia once again pretended to be dizzy and staggered, leaning on Jihan's shoulder. However, the clueless Jihan thought his niece was genuinely tired after spending so long at the auction. So he said to Lee Hayon and Gaeon,
My niece isn't feeling well. I want to take her home to rest. If you give me your business card, I'll contact you later."
Then, with all the confidence drained from her face, Lee Hyeon tremblingly handed her business card to Jihan. The uncle and niece then happily left. The niece, Sia, was still thinking to herself, "So my 35-year-old forever alone uncle is about to get a girlfriend. I don't have to worry about finding a wife for him anymore." Meanwhile, Lee Hyeon was purple with rage, scolding Gayon behind her. "Gayon!" "Yes, my lady?" "How are you trying to hold in your laughter when I can still hear it so clearly? I'm about to lose my mind." "You're getting revenge for what happened last time, aren't you?" Gayon couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha! It's not funny. Ha ha! I'm so sorry." "You're really trying to provoke me." A little later, on their way back, Sia suddenly said, "But uncle, do you know what surprised me the most, old man? It's the fact that you're actually wearing my dad's clothes." Jihan sighed and replied, "What do you want me to do? My own clothes don't fit anymore. Besides, there's nothing wrong with the clothes. As long as they fit, it's fine." Seiya replied cheerfully, "That's right. As long as you look good in them, who cares? But hey, that line you used earlier was not cool, you know?" "It's so old and worn out," Jihan asked blankly. "What line?" "That whole 'you're the first person to ever reject me' routine. How many girls have you used that on? I'm telling you, you should find a new way to hit on girls from now on." Jihan, standing beside her, had no idea what the kid was talking about. Seiya waved her hand, passionately explaining, "Playing a little hard to get is fine. But saying you don't remember your own phone number is not a good excuse. You were lucky I was quick on my feet. I totally saved you from an embarrassing failure." Jihan, still with a deadpan face, replied, "But I really don't know it, Seiya." Jihan's words struck her like a bolt of lightning. Seiya's eyes widened in surprise as she said, "Huh?" Jihan immediately replied, "What? You really don't know it? It's true." Hearing that, Seiya's face fell completely. So this whole time she was the only one imagining things? The scene changes to another map in the arena. A system notification pops up. "Welcome to the Southern Fist Bronze Cup Arena. This mission is a defense mission. Protect the crystal and survive the zombie horde." Just after arriving, Jihan was already complaining about how exhausting it was to console Seiya. It was truly tiring. It turned out that earlier, when his niece Seiya realized she had been imagining things the whole time, she burst into tears, thinking she had ruined her uncle's love life. "Because I was so foolish, I just got in the way," Jihan sighed. "Does that kid really think I like Lee Hyeon? Who in their right mind would like that gambling addict? Anyway, I never expected to meet Zero like this." Back then, they quickly became close because they were both from South Korea and were both displaced people. On their days off, they often made bets with Zero. She was really into betting games like this. During one outing, Jihan sipped his drink and said, "I told you Diego Masi would score." Zero frowned and replied, "But how is that possible? An outdated gift item like the god of soccer is that good? I told you to pay attention. He's not a gift, he's SSS rank." "Fine. I'll definitely win the bet next time." Jihan had advised her to quit these betting games a few times, but Zero would just reply, "Don't say that. It's hard to ignore the temptation. It was so hard to get addicted in the first place. Why would I quit now, buddy?" Jihan also asked Zero if she ever planned on removing the scar on her face. She touched her mask and replied, "I never intended to. I've told you before. This is the price I paid for making a deal with the devil." Besides both being homeless, they had many other things in common. Jihan, a girl clenching her teeth in agony, said, "Phew, how did you get so strong so quickly? If I were still as strong as I was back in Korea, my friend wouldn't have died such a pointless death." And the biggest thing they had in common was a sense of guilt and torment. "Ah, no, I don't have the right to say that. It's all my fault." Remorse and guilt. Those feelings engulfed the two of them because of a past where they couldn't protect someone important. But that was something that happened in a past life. In this life, Jihan has returned and has the chance to change everything. The crowd of spectators started spamming messages. "Wait a minute, what is that in Jihan's hand? Oh my god, it's so long it doesn't even fit on the screen. I feel sorry for those zombies." It turned out Jihan had brought along an item called the Pope's Machete. It's a C-rank item. A blade used as a papal offering, perfect for slaughtering all sorts of creatures. Jihan had acquired it specifically for this map. He looked at the blade, thinking to himself, "I don't get why it was sold so cheap, even for a C-rank holy artifact. Maybe it's because this thing is so big and long that very few people can even lift it." To Jihan, however, this thing was still very light. He could easily swing the blade with one hand. After a few basic slashes, Jihan had already dazzled the viewers. He's as strong as a warrior. Is he really a support class? As Jihan was busy swinging his blade, a flood of comments spammed the chat, asking him to reveal his status window to everyone. Everyone wanted to see what Jihan's stats were, to understand just how he could be so powerful. Jihan slammed the blade into the ground. He thought to himself, now that there are more viewers, people are starting to get demanding. Right now, I have a whole 12,000 people watching me. I don't know if I should show everyone or not. He was afraid that after seeing it, many people wouldn't be able to accept it. But they definitely wouldn't let it go. They're just normal people after all. I guess I'll just have to be straight with the viewers. Hello everyone, this is Xiong Jihan. It seems like a lot of people are curious about my status window. I will reveal it to you all, but on one condition. My channel reaches 200,000 subscribers. That is my promise. Hearing this, some viewers started cursing at Jihan. You only have 10,000 subscribers now. When are you gonna get to 200,000? You'd probably have to raise the dead and have them subscribe. Only then might you have enough. You're just a bronze tier player. Having 10,000 followers is already great. And now you're demanding 200,000? Jihan ignored the taunts from this crowd. I knew they would complain. 200,000 is truly a difficult number to reach. Jihan added, that is my promise. In addition, I have one more condition. From now on, if I fail to maintain the #1 spot, I will immediately reveal my status window. The viewers started spamming question marks again. Are you planning to go on a winning streak until you rank up? That's not happening. Stop dreaming. If it's just the arena map, that's one thing. But when there are team games, you're going to regret saying that.